It's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626. Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
that number again is
345-936-2626.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. We are literally just a couple days shy of the Easter weekend. I know some of you are making some serious preparations to get ready for it. So, of course, we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Happy Wednesday. It is Hump Day Wednesday. Beautiful day in the Cayman Islands. Look outside your window. You're probably driving. So, of course, you're like, yeah, Sandy, I'm looking out the window. I got to look out the front windshield to be able to drive. Oh, my goodness. Hold on. Let me turn that camera on so I can see all of you. And I'm going to send out the links to everyone. Buenos dias. All right. We have the NRA who's coming on at 8 o'clock this morning. And let's talk a little bit about what's happening. So yesterday I went to the grocery store. Big shout out to Paola, who works at Foster's Cayman Bay. She is, I understand, an awesome. What's the professional term for someone who bakes? I know it's not a baker. We'll call her a baker for now. But oh my gosh, she's a pastry chef. That's probably what it is. So yeah, she's a pastry chef, and OMG, she gave me one of those rainbow cakes. Well, I bought a slice of rainbow cake, and then she gave me a little cupcake. I let Gianna have the cupcake, but can I tell you that rainbow cake was amazing and moist and delicious. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but particularly at that location, came out of Bay Store, Foster's Bakery has really stepped it up, honey child. But I'm going to tell you all about somebody else who's making some awesome cakes by order. And they do a phenomenal job as well. But I went there and I was sitting there staring at that rainbow cake thinking, oh, should I, shouldn't I? What they say, a second of pleasure on the lips, forever on the hips kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that looks so delicious. And then she saw me. She's like, oh my God, it's you. And I was like, hi. Now she's going to know that I love her cakes. I'm like, hi. And she introduced herself. And she actually came from behind the counter, gave me the biggest hugs in the world. Oh my gosh, she's such a sweet person. You know when someone gives you a hug and it's like a real hug. Like the person is genuinely like you can't fake it. You can't fake a hug. Have you ever noticed that? You can't fake a hug. If somebody doesn't like you and they give you a hug, it's like, kind of pat you in the back, and it's like, oh God. But this was like a I love you kind of hug, right? She's like, I'm your biggest fan. You've made my day. And guess what? It turns out that it was actually her birthday. What are the chances? So I was like, come, girl, let us do a selfie on your birthday. And so all of you got to wish her happy birthday as well. So happy birthday, young lady. And there she was working on her birthday. And I thought to myself, I said to her, actually, you're working on your birthday? She said, yeah, she was just starting her shift and she was going to be working until closing. But she's like, oh, I'll celebrate over the weekend. So, how many of you show up happy and smiling on your birthdays to work? These are the good things, the good qualities that employers actually look for. Now, I know that Foster's actually does something that's kind of cool. When employees have a birthday, they give them, and I don't know if it's everybody, so maybe I should have a little caveat here, but I do know that they do it for some people, which probably means they do it for everybody. They give you like a free day off, a birthday day. So you can take a birthday day. You can just take a day. It doesn't come out of like your vacation allotment or whatever. And I think that that's super cool. So thanks, Foster's, for doing that. I think that's awesome. So I'm sure Paula has gotten her birthday card and her birthday, you get a free day. But this is her. So beautiful. And these are her pastries. Who's more beautiful, Paula or those beautiful cakes? They're both sweet. But I mean, yes, absolutely lovely, lovely young lady. So it was a real pleasure to see her. And then there was another young lady. I get a lot of, my daughter says to other people, she doesn't really say to me, my mom's a celebrity. I was like, I don't know about that, but I get a lot of people who, especially young people, they really are engaged at a different level. But they always stop and say hi, and sometimes they request a selfie, and I will never say no to a selfie. I'm like, what? Of course. So I'm going to show you another person that I ran into, because then I went to Price Right. When you doing your grocery run, sometimes you got to go to more than one location. So hold on a second now. I'm going to show you all this other person that I ran into that was kind of funny. But yes, I ran into a young lady when I was at the register. I don't know her name. She's a Caymanian, beautiful young lady. And she was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. She gave me a hug as well. Yes, should have been like National Hugging Day. And then there was a guy in the produce section. He's like, we were just coming out of the produce section. He's like, are you Sandra Catron? I said, actually, I'm Sandra Hill now for over 8 years. He said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for everything that you do. I mean, it's just so awesome, the community appreciation. And so I want to say to all of you, thank you, because I really do appreciate it. It really does mean a lot when, I'm acknowledged in some way. Now, look at this one. This one's going to make y'all chuckle. Hold on here now. Yes. Look at who else I saw at the store yesterday. Look at that. Sterling. Yes. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. He was also at the store. And I said, come on, Sterling, bring it in, bring it in. And so we had a nice little moment there and a nice little chat. And he was saying, you've got to come on the program, like when you do a cross program sort of thing. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Sterling has always been very generous. He's invited me on his program before. And, I enjoy going over on Radio Cayman. One time I almost hosted the show on Radio Cayman. I'm going to tell you all the story about this. This is many, many, many years ago. This is when Sterling would have taken it over. But before he took it over, one of the managers over there, the top person actually, said, who would be really good for this show? Sandy. And I said, yeah, I was totally interested in doing it. And then whatever happened, probably politics, I can't remember. It just never came to fruition. So, it is what it is. What do they say? Nothing before its time. And it was interesting that I was actually being considered for it. But you know what? As things go, I'm sure that was an amazing blessing in disguise, because we can't have no filters and no muffling on the truth. And over there, so there's I can imagine there's a lot of muffling that has happened over the years. I do think, though, that there have been vast improvements to a certain extent. That Sterling probably does have a lot of freedoms now that, over the years, it's probably improved. But being government, there's only so much you can say that might appear to be critical of the government. So I don't believe in muffling free speech. You say it. Once you don't go on too bad with the profanity, and don't be hating on anybody and any group of individuals, you can certainly say what you think. And so a bit of good news. I spoke to Miss Charlene this morning. She is alive and well. We hadn't heard from her in a little bit, but she said she's been listening. So maybe she just hasn't felt the need to call in, and that's okay too. We get used to our regulars who call into the program. And so to me, this is like a little family, right? You got the naughty kids in the family. Well, we use the classroom analogy here all the time. You got the naughty kids in the classroom, you got the good kids, and you have children who just sit there and they observe, but they don't say much. They're just very quiet. They take it all in. They have their thoughts. And we want more of you to be able to share your thoughts, more of you to call in. 936 Bobo is the number. So big shout out to today's sponsor. Burger King makes this show possible. We thank them very, very much for their continued support of free speech and clean Whoppers. Look at that. Free speech and a clean Whopper at that. They've got this clean Whopper, no artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives ever. Go get yourself one. You know what I like about Burger King actually is their chicken sandwich. That's always been like my thing with BK. I love me a chicken sandwich with a little bit of cheese on it, and I'm good to go. So yes, good morning to First Lady Jayanne. She's wishing everybody good morning. Miss Iva is here. Olivia is showing up front and center. Good morning to Robert. Jim says that Paola is professional, talented, and does incredible works of art. And it really is a work of art when you see what goes into those things. By the way, got myself a biscuit cake last night. Yesterday was like, I was getting all kind of goodies. So I took a drive out to East End. Big shout out to Papa Gerlo. He made me a biscuit cake. He's so sweet. So we have guests coming in today. I'm going to make sure that they get some of that. And also another friend, big shout out to Mia. She made some homemade ice cream. So she's like, I've got your tub of homemade ice cream. I was like, oh Lord, this weekend is going to be like a total wash. I mean, forget watching the diet. I'm sure I'm going to be eating more in the next week, but I'm going to try to keep it, under control. But we got dinners organized because, Aunt is visiting from overseas and it's her birthday this weekend. And so we got all kind of stuff that's going to be happening. And, everything we do centers around food. That's Caribbean people. We celebrate birthdays, it's food. We celebrate weddings, it's food. We celebrate a funeral, it's food. What else do we celebrate? Bar mitzvahs. I mean, I guess there's some Jewish people in the Caribbean community, of course. We go camping, it's food. We get engaged, it's food. Baby showers, lots of food. Everything, food, 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 and more food. We just love our food. Good morning, Miss Bonnie. How you doing? Miss Bonnie, I haven't forgotten you about the request for radio. So first of all, let me just say this. Let me grab. Y'all know that we have these little portable radios, honey chow. Customs was all up in my grill about my radios. Oh Lord, I just can't even. So I order these radios. They're not really expensive. I mean, it is what it is. But I order these little radios, and they're for people I'm hoping in the community who, listen, I don't even have a radio in my house until, well, now we have one because Marlon brought this little It's like a radio, cassette player, turntable, everything in one, like one of those old time little jukebox looking things, right? So that has a radio. Before that, man, I haven't had a radio in years. So if I can't listen through my phone, not everybody has a smartphone. So if you're one of those people, if you got a grandma or an aunt or uncle or somebody in your life who could benefit, and it doesn't have to be anybody old, sometimes you just, need a radio. So if you know anyone who can benefit from one of these radios, please reach out to me. I'm just opening one now so I can show y'all what they look like. They're really, really tiny. And I've got a variety of colors and stuff. So I ordered more. Remember the last time I gave them away, I said I would order some more. So this is it. They're that tiny. And they come in a variety of different colors. There's like this gray. There's like I think this particular one doesn't have a black. This one has blue, orange, a light gray, and a dark gray. So this is the darker gray. Yeah. And you can program it. So they're programmable, and you can save your little stations. So they can save a couple stations in the memory. And then it comes with a little charger. So that one has a little DC charger. Headset is in the little box somewhere. I think they come, they come with a little headset and the charger and everything. And then some of them come with like the little wristband, so they can kind of hold it on the wrist. So if you know of anyone who could benefit from one of these little portable radios, do let me know, and I will ensure that they get one. And the colors are really, really pretty. I'm going to see if I can find, this one's gray, but the colored ones are super cute. Let me see if I can find a color one. So this is all about helping the community in any way that we can. Color in the box. Let me see. Let's see which color this one is. So, remember one time we had a sponsor that was doing the streaming devices? Big shout out to my anonymous sponsor. He doesn't like to, this is the blue one. Oh, the blue's nice. This particular guy is always stepping up to the plate. He knows who he is. I'm sure he's listening to the program right now. And, he's always so generous, but he's also very, very private. And he's always willing to donate to different causes, help people with, when they're in need. He's always the first one on my news list to reach out. Here's a little blue one. Cute, right? So he's always the first one to reach out and offer his assistance, which I think is so awesome. So he had sponsored some people to do the streaming boxes. Sometimes people don't have access to TVs anymore. They can't afford cable or whatever. So we've got options for you too. I'm just trying to see what other colors are in here. And so we had donated some of those. Miss Sue, is your box still working? I know you had gotten one. Okay, check out the orange one. The orange one is cute too. Look at that. All right. There we go. Nice. Nice and colorful. So you put that down. You're not going to lose that too easy. So we'll see if maybe we can do that again a little bit. I was telling him over the weekend, I said, you're always so generous that I hate to ask, or sometimes not that I'm asking, but he's always offering. And I said, your generosity really knows no bounds. So thank you so much. Miss Wee Wee is also in the house. Stephen is here joining us from UK. Marshall, Miss Dean, so good to see you. She's saying hello to everybody in the CMR fam. Miss Vernita is here. Good morning, Alejandro. Says, are you going to bring Mrs. Sterling on the show? I told him, why not? We don't have, we're not on at the same time. So he's always welcome. Anybody's welcome, really. Well, some of y'all I got to put in the naughty chair. Speaking of the naughty chair, so yesterday afternoon, oh my gosh, poor George. I don't know what's going on with him, but he had a moment where he actually went into Scotiabank and caused such a scene that they had to call the police on him. I think that it was something to do with a check. Now, you know, these banks have, listen, I know how frustrating a bank can be. That's why I just stick with CNB, honey chill, because I'm not gonna time for no drama. Some of these banks, you walk in there and they have nobody working. Like you got 10 people going out the door and they got 1 or 2 tellers. And I'm just like, what? One thing I must say about CNB is they always have a full complement of staff. You go in, they got staff. So yesterday, I was at Cayman Bay and I had to do a little bit of banking. So I ran to CNB, and I love the fact that at Cayman Bay, all of the banks are there. Royal Bank isn't there, but I think Royal Bank is going to be opening up there soon. So you've got CNB, who were the original boys in town. They're there. So I ran to CNB and I did some stuff. Nobody was in line. I loved it. The tellers were there. They were like counting money and doing other stuff. So they were able to help right away. I had to order international draft, and I've got it done like in 2 seconds flat. And then I had to go over to Butterfield. So I was like, oh, I'll just walk over there. And I walked over, and I'd not been in that Butterfield branch before. It's actually really nice. It feels very cozy when you go in there. So I did my transaction in Butterfield, and then I went to the grocery store at Cayman Bay. So much stuff there that you can just do one-stop shopping, right? One-stop errands. And then later on in the afternoon, I got a phone call that George apparently was causing a scene at Scotiabank. Something about a check. And so, to be fair to George, I know these banks can be frustrating, but they also have policies in place that apply to everyone. So once you know what the policy is, you know that some of them you can't like cash a check if you don't bank with them, or if you do, they charge you a cash. Cash checking fee. If you have a business, what I find is the best thing to do is just make deposits into your business account. Like, it doesn't really make sense to be trying to cash a check and walk out. Well, even for security reasons, walk out the door with a check, right? So I'm not really sure why he was upset. But I think he needs to just relax and take it easy. Yeah, he seems to be in a bit of a manic stage at the moment. So I want to encourage. Oh, I forgot to put the wrapper back in one of those phones. One of those. What's it called? Let me see if I can find it. This is a little bit of OCD moment here. So yeah, I mean, I hope he just needs to relax himself. Take it easy, George. It's not worth the stress. So we'll anyway, they called the police. They were asking him to calm down, and he wasn't calming down. And so, next thing you know, they were like, sir, if you don't calm down, we're going to call the police. And so they did call the police on him. I was like, oh my God, getting called on in the bank. Like, somebody calls the police on you. They only do that if you're a bank robber, I think. And if you're belligerent. Because I mean, I think that he's probably going on in an extreme way, and the staff just felt like they couldn't control him. So George, please relax yourself. Good morning to Miss Juanita, who's joining us from Georgia. Felicia's here. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Uh-oh. Don't forget, when you called you in the show, you're going to be on air. Miss Vernita wants an orange or red radio, please. They are too good. They're good to have for hurricane. All right. Well, which one do you want? Orange or red? I think we have some red ones. I believe. I actually got 2 different models. So let me see. This one's slightly different. But I like that they're rechargeable, because then you don't have to worry about batteries, and that helps the environment that we're not throwing batteries in all these disposable batteries. So let me see now. The red is this is the red one. So you got to let me know, orange or red. This is red. It's kind of like a ruby red, and it's really nice. right? Gorgeous. Yeah, nice. I like the red. So let me know, orange or red, honey. Either one will do. I see our guests. We're going to be pulling them in here in a little bit. Alejandro wants a black one. Now you see, this is where I got to start writing this down, because by the time I'm finished with the show, I'll be like, who wanted what again? Hold on, let me get my Post-it note, honey, chill. I finally, I've been decluttering for the last week. And oh gosh, I need to go do my donation bin to John Gray. I forgot I was going to do that yesterday. The office desk finally looks decent. So Alejandro, I'm going to put you down for black. Miss Vernita, I need to come see you anyway. So I can't promise today, because like I said, guests are coming from out of town. I've actually got a couple meetings today and stuff for work as well. All right, Miss Jackie, good morning to you, darling. Richard Newton says hi from the hood. Which hood? Remind us which hood. California? Strong Will is here, or Canada? I'm trying to remember where you're at. Strong Will, happy Wednesday. Richard and Celine, Siobhan, Pauline. Dean says, had death arrangements for the past 2 weeks, Sandy. So I was MIA for a little while. Oh, I'm so sorry. Who passed away? I'm so sorry to hear that. Yes, check cashing, Val. Thank you so much. So make sure that you know what your bank's policies are. Whoever you bank with, or if you have a check, you can't just walk into, like, if I don't have an account at Scotiabank, as far as I know, the policy now is I can't just walk in there and cash a check. I'm supposed to deposit it into my business bank account, which makes more sense. For accounting purposes, you kind of want to do that anyway. But then that also means you're going to have to wait a couple days for the check to clear. Now, in all fairness to the banks, they have been clearing these deposits a lot quicker, because they claim that they're part of this conglomerate of banks called clearinghouse, like a banking clearinghouse or whatever. And so the idea is that at some point in time, the technology will be like what it is in the US, where literally, and I'm telling you, the US technology is off the chain amazing. And it's been that way for a really long time. So you can scan a check if you have a US bank account and get your money like in real time. Did you guys know? I'm going to share a little tip with you. And then we're going to jump on the NRA in a second. But did you guys know that you can actually get even an international draft? Like if you need to send someone money overseas, there's a little tip for you. Listen up now. This is a tip that's going to save you money. Got to be smart with your money. If you have to send funds overseas, now some of you have bank accounts overseas in the US, or you've got family there that sometimes you've got to send money to. Well, because the banking system in the US is really quite technologically advanced, I would say, you can even get an international draft and deposit that from your phone. Now, you need to have access to their account, so you'd have to log in with their account credentials, and you just take a photo of the front and the back, the amount that you're depositing. So you do it, you go to your bank, you order an international draft, or you order it online. You order an international draft and you take a photocopy of the actual physical check. And then you deposit that. And they get the money like right away. Just as easy as that. And you never have to pay wiring fees, because if you wire that same money, it's probably going to cost you $45, $50, right? Whereas a draft is still relatively inexpensive. I think CNB drafts are like, how much are they? Just a couple dollars, maybe $5, $6 or whatever is what you're going to pay for a draft. And if you order it online, I kind of think that you don't. Do you pay if you order it online? I don't think that they charge you if you order it online, because they're trying to encourage you to do as much online banking as possible. So Mia would like a radio. What color, Miss Mia Wells? And Mia, I need you to send me your number so I can arrange to WhatsApp me on 936-2626. All right, Mia, so I've written you down. Good morning, Everton. Vernita, I've got you down for red. Miss Iva wants an orange one. No problemo. Gonna write this down. And of course, Miss Iva, I know how to get to you with your beautiful mango trees. Strong Will would like the orange one. Now, Strong Will, you likewise have to WhatsApp me so that I can get to you. So Strong Will, and let me know that your social name is Strong Will, because I'm sure that's not your real name. So I'll put you down for orange. Looks like I'm gonna have to order more radios, honey child. This person says, blessed good morning, San dear. I know an elder in the church, a brother that would appreciate one of those radios, please. Color red or black, even blue. Thanks so much. Okay, so we'll get one for church brother. We'll just pick a color for him. Is this Strong Will that just messaged me? Oh, that's Mia. Okay, so Mia is gonna do black. Yes. All right, we got you, Mia. All right, y'all, just send me a little WhatsApp or text message, and I will sort. I'm gonna tell you guys where to pick them up because I'm gonna leave them all at one central location. All right, Lavana. Good morning. Mia, we got you. Melissa, how are you? Diamond Princess is in the house. Miss Dorothy, the beautiful Miss Dorothy, listening from overseas. Val says that I said cash checking. I know. Listen, sometimes I have, I don't know. I don't want to say it's dyslexia because obviously that's a very serious situation. But sometimes the brain is, it reverses things when you're when you're trying to multitask and you're speaking and thinking and doing a couple other things at the same time. Jonathan Behave, he says, I'm going to cuss out NRA. I've come to cuss out NRA. Where are they at? That's not very nice, Jonathan. Did your mama not teach you any manners? We don't cuss people out. You have an opinion. And we already know where Jonathan, his solution to every single traffic woe in the entire Cayman Islands is just build a bridge in the North Sound. He's like, that'll solve all of our problems. That's it. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning.
Morning, Alejandro.
I'm wondering who is it that puts up these pedestrian signs, these pedestrian crosswalks and stuff?
Well, that's NRA. So you have a question for them? We're going to bring them here in just a second.
Yeah, NRA needs to put 3 more pedestrian crosses on the hospital road, the 4-way.
Oh, geez, I'm peace.
Because I just saw a lady just now crossing the road and she almost got licked down by a person that is in a rush.
Well, listen, no pedestrian crosswalk is going to help somebody in a rush. Y'all just need to slow down and stop trying to kill people on the roadways.
Yeah, but the thing is about it, right? They got a pedestrian cross on the church side of the hospital road 4-way. And then they on the other 3 ways that are widely open, they are free to go whatever. They don't even have a warning that someone is crossing the road or what.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense.
All right, they're coming on in just a few seconds, but the best thing to do is for both drivers and pedestrians to simply be careful. I mean, crossing at a 4-way intersection might seem like a good idea, but in my opinion, it probably makes more sense to walk up a little bit and cross where it's maybe a little bit less busy. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're think about the brain, think about what you're doing with your brain when you're the driver and you're at that crosswalk. You're looking at the cars to see whose turn it is next and whatever. A pedestrian walks out in front of you, honey child, you're likely to get hit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think pedestrians have a responsibility to themselves to take due care, just like cyclists. Don't be cycling at night wearing dark colors and all that kind of stuff. But we'll talk about it. They are here. We can talk about crosswalk safety and stuff here in a second.
Yep.
Thank you, my love. All right, Pauline wants a black one. Pauline, WhatsApp me so I can have your number. Condolences going out to Miss Dean. Her uncle passed away at the age of 95. Please accept her condolences. Miss Lisa says, I've just joined, so no idea what I'm asking for, but I'll take a red one nonetheless. Oh, Lisa, that is so funny. So, Lisa, we're doing some portable radios. So these are actually really good when you think somebody mentioned hurricane. I think you're right. These are perfect for you to listen to the Cold Hard Truth in the mornings. And also if you need something for hurricane season, because, you know, as hurricane season approaches, we always try to stay on during a hurricane for as long as we can, bringing you all the updates. Kevin, our weatherman, is always joining us. So this is what the red one looks like. So just to make sure you know what you're getting, because maybe you don't need a radio. And you're like, oh, I just said that kid's free. But she's like, I'll take one. But if you do want it, let me know. And I'll put you down, Lisa. Pauline, yes. Miss Romelia, you said don't leave you out, but you haven't said which color you'd like. So let me know. All right, before we move on, I've got a donation bin of shoes. Now, I have to make a confession to probably, well, if you speak to my husband, he's going to say it's the truth, but you know, I'm not quite willing to say that I have an addiction, but maybe I just love shoes a little bit too much. I can hear Miss Stacy now laughing, chill. She's like, maybe. So, I like shoes. I like tennis shoes. I don't do high heels anymore because, you know, my feet just can't take it. But I do have some shoes that are available for, if you'd like. I had to clear out shoes to make room for new shoes. And so I have a whole bag full of shoes, all sorts of slip-ons and tennis shoes and whatever. So if you know of anyone who's in need of some shoes, I think they're all either 9.5 or 10. Yes, I have big feet. Don't kill me. Let me know, because I'm going to be giving out that bag today. When I clear out stuff, it's got to go right away. Like, I hate decluttering and then you still have it in a bag somewhere in the house. So I've got that. I still haven't reached the closet with a basket of stuff yet. I've been meaning to do it. That'll probably be after Easter. I don't know yet. But I'll be getting to that as well. So Tracy says radio was our only form of communication after Ivan. Yes, indeed. John says, good morning, Sandy. That green looks amazing on you too. Well, thank you. It's not new. And I'm going to be wearing it with green pants. And, you know, there's something about the color green that I absolutely love. Val says, all of these people need a radio. Bam. I hope they're not just taking one because it's free. Well, maybe. And there's probably nothing wrong with that. So you'd be surprised, like I said, who don't have radios anymore. So Aliano has a comment for the NRA. We're coming. Patricia's ready for them. So I'm just making sure I'm not missing any more radio requests. Yes, Miss Ann wants a radio. So hold on, Miss Ann Seymour. A red one. Okay. Red. And I see you've given me your number there. All right, Miss Ann. 97. Yep. Okay. Jackie would like a radio. Very good. My apologies to the NRA. I'm coming to you. Jackie. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Miss Sandra, good morning, Miss Sandra. Read a message. I'll just send you a message.
Okay. All right. No problem. You're burning out my phone most mornings with your piping hot tea. So Ms. Jackie, message me and let me know what color as well. So Lisa, you still want the radio? Okay. Putting you down for a red, but you got to WhatsApp us 936 2626. So put you down for red. Jackie, did you say what color you wanted? All right, NRA, I'm coming. Val says they look like calculators. Yeah, they're really tiny. All right. Okay, Miss Wanda wants a red one. Very good. Oh, these are hot. There's like, oh my gosh, I hope I have enough now. Don't y'all worry, child. We'll get more if we need to. Customs is like, yeah, we hear you ordering more stuff. So a red one. No, we're gonna just give them away. That's okay. That's my gift to you, Miss Wanda. I know I have you on WhatsApp already. Patricia said, what are we choosing colors for? Yes, honey child. Good morning, the beautiful Patricia. So we're doing some little portable radios. You know, these are great. Sometimes you're in the garden and you want to listen. I know y'all are anxious to get NRA on, so we're going to bring them here. Strong Will said orange. Yes, I got you down for orange. Thank you, Siobhan. So colors, NRA, please bear with me. I swear I'm coming. Just 2 more minutes. Let me tell you what colors we have. Hold on. I'm going to tell y'all. So we have red, blue, and I can't remember exactly how many of which ones, but we've got, hold on. So we've got red, blue, gray. There's one that's like a brownish color. It's gold. Yes, they call it gold. And we've got light gray, dark gray, orange, black. And I think that's it. Yeah. So those are the colors. And these are fantastic. All right. So, oh, somebody else is calling me. My gosh, the phone's ringing off this morning. 1 second. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Hello? Oh, hello? Yeah, you got to remember now, if you call me during on-air time, it's going to be on air. All right, Richard. Any color. Beautiful. Okay, Jonathan talking about his bridge. We're coming to you, Jonathan. Wanda is talking about crosswalks. All right, we're going to tag that one for the NRA. Tracy says it's good to know that you're wearing pants. Actually, right now I'm not wearing any pants. I'm wearing shorts. So just totally TMI. But during the show, I stand up the entire time. On 99% of the shows, I'm standing all 3 hours. And most of the time, I just put on shorts. And then afterwards, I put on my pants to go on the road. Everton says the radios are cute. Good morning, Miss Olive. Lulu, what's up, me? And let me know your color. So everybody's loving these radios, man. They're a hit. And a lot of you were asking about the dash cams. So later on, I'll tell you about that after a guest because I want to keep them. They're important people, you know, they're VIP. So Jonathan obsessing about that bridge again. Romelia wants the blue. Let me put that down. Okay. Now, don't y'all be making a request and don't collect your radios because some of y'all never collected your Christmas presents. And hello, we will re-gift those, honey child. You better believe that. You don't, when you got something for free, you better pick it up. Miss Elizabeth says that she'd like a red one. Okay. Hopefully I got enough red ones, but all right, Miss Juanita, what color, please? And I see the messages. Thank you, guys. I see your messages coming in on WhatsApp. That's always the best thing to do is follow up with me on WhatsApp because then you know how that goes, honey child. All right, Carmelie wants blue. Carmelie. I always wanted to put 2 L's in your name. She'd like a blue one. And then Lulu is going to do gold. Nice. First gold request. Venice, sorry, wants an orange one. Miss Vernice, WhatsApp me so I can get your number. Orange. Siobhan says, did you get me a red radio? Oh, did I miss your request? I don't even think I put you in the list, Siobhan. Oh, gosh. Let me write you down, honey chill. Siobhan. Red. Oh, gosh. I think we might not have enough red now that I'm looking at it. All right. I think we're going to have to close off the request for radios for now. But I think I got everybody. Oh, San. Let me put you down, honey chill. San Dixon, what's up, me? Any color. All right. Venetia wants one too. Oh my goodness, this list is growing. Venetia Smith, please, what's up, me? Alejandro says, are we building bridges to hold hotels on Westbury Road? Lord Jesus. I don't know how many reds I have left, but First Lady, you see, this is where I needed a big piece of paper, not Post-it notes. First Lady, WhatsApp me. Leroy, good morning. We'll talk about the bridge. Jackie is good with red. Jackie Morgan, yes. Ooh, honey, chill. All right. Okay, so I think that's it, right? We'll do black for Siobhan. I think black should be fine. So red or black, whichever one is left. Okay. Miss Sue, good morning. Mm-hmm. All right, Tracy, there is no pink. Somebody else mentioned pink. There is no pink. Carol Smith would like red. All right. Okay, closing out requests for now, because I think I really have more requested than I actually have radios. Clearly, I need to order some more radios. All right, I'm glad that there's such a hit. Tracy, I'll put you down for red. If we have any red left, if not, black or gray. I know the red are very popular, actually. All right, without any further ado, folks, please join your hands to welcome the National Roads Authority. Good morning, NRA.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can see
We
that
want
really
a blue one.
Sorry?
We'd like a blue radio.
I know.
Sign up for those radios finish.
I know.
We have a couple
I mean,
blue
as
ones.
you can see, these are so popular. It's crazy.
Item.
Yes. But you know, everybody's thinking, listening to the talk show, hurricane season. It's good to have a little portable radio on you at all times. Keep it in the car, keep it in the house. So tickled pink to have you guys on the program today. Thank you so much. So we're going to be talking about road safety, and then of course a couple of the projects. We have Miss Marian Pandui and Edison Jackson. Now Edison is a design engineer, and so is Miss Marian. Now tell us, for the benefit of our listeners.
I'm actually a planner. I'm the planner part. So
you're a planner.
Transportation planner.
A transportation planner. What's the difference between a transportation planner and a design engineer? Like, what does Mr. Edison do?
All right, that's great.
That's a way to start.
Marian tends to help plan where our roads go and what type of roads we need. And then I'll work out the details. So I'll work out the physical design of the road, the levels, the drainage, any safety items, all of the pedestrian crossings, bike lanes, those kind of details.
Okay, so that's quite interesting. So she does the first part, which is the planning, and then you execute.
Yes.
Very good. And I mean, I think they're both equally important and challenging, I'm sure of that. So a few people were asking for the WhatsApp number. It's now scrolling on the screen. So let's start with safety this morning. There are lots of considerations when it comes to road safety. And of course, we know that the NRA has been busy putting in some pedestrian crosswalks. You guys have also been extremely busy sort of making improvements to the crosswalks that you do put in. So tell us a little bit about where some new crosswalks are located. The one that I'm really, really fond of is actually the one by immigration that tells you to look to the right. I think it says look right.
Yes, look right.
Look right.
Because sometimes, especially if you're a visitor, you forget which direction to look.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do forget, so you look right.
Yeah.
We have been putting that on a lot of the crosswalks as a reminder for pedestrians to look right. It's also a reminder for pedestrians to actually to look in general, because that's the main issue we've been having with the crosswalks. Is pedestrians just stepping up and just crossing without even pausing to take a look. Right, left as to whether a vehicle is actually there. So that's the main issue we've been having. We've heard it's been a concern at the moment. So it's both because the crosswalk, the pedestrian has to take due care as well as the car. So it's a two-sided thing.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying to Alejandro when he called earlier, right? So he's like, oh, put a crosswalk by the four-way stop. Now, let's talk about this. Is there a certain logic to where you put crosswalks? I'm sure there is.
Yes. So crosswalks, particularly the ones that we've been installing recently on our older roads, they need to be put at locations where when people cross them, they'll be highly visible. So at most of these crosswalks that we put in, the area will be well lit at night. We've gone the extra mile to add street lighting in some cases where we've added these crosswalks.
Right. You also want to put them in a pedestrian path. So the one at the four-way stop is at the location between the hospital parking lot on one side and the hospital, and then there's a path behind the hospital on the other side. This kind of was the method behind putting where that pedestrian crossing was located, why it was installed at that particular spot. Other ones, they're installed because there's a development on one side, and unfortunately their parking lots on the other side, and there's a high amount of traffic going from one side to the other. A couple of them are installed because of that.
Right.
And you also have crossings at signals and where there's a high level of pedestrian crossing.
Right.
Okay. So Alejandro, to kind of answer your question, and perhaps a lot of people were wondering this, there is a bit of a formula that they use in determining where a crosswalk will actually go. So it's not necessarily like, oh, well, somebody's going to cross here, they might get hit here. It's really more of looking at the logistics of traffic flow, pedestrian traffic flow, car traffic, vehicular traffic flow, and kind of where it makes sense as well. Because sometimes I'm sure it just doesn't make sense to try to stop traffic. If you're in a 25 mile or 30 mile per hour zone and you just throw in a crosswalk, that's probably a very dangerous location for a crosswalk to go.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't put a crosswalk on a 40 mile per hour road. So there wouldn't be a pedestrian crossing, say, on Esley Tibbetts Highway or the Lincoln Pearson Highway. We wouldn't put pedestrian crossings across those because there's the logistics of, obviously, if you put a pedestrian crossing, you have to stop traffic to get all the way across. So we wouldn't put them there. We put them on basically 30 mile per hour roads and below.
Okay. All right. Alejandro, good morning.
Yeah, so question. Good morning for the guests, by the way. Do you guys know that area in particular that you put up the pedestrian cross, if that's your planning? Like, have you seen it actually working?
So the question is, you mean the one by the four-way stop, the hospital four-way stop?
Yeah, the four-way stop in Hospital Road, because I use that on a daily basis and I see problem on it every single time. And I'm wondering, okay, let me just tell you how I feel about it, right? It should be in all four ways because it should be like how a stoplight is. Like, like when you go to a stop sign, you stop at the stop sign, not stop 4 blocks away from the stop sign, right? So if you put a pedestrian sign in the middle of between the approach of the stop sign and the stop sign, then you'll have people bumbling up when they have to stop for somebody after they done cross the pedestrian for the next side. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when somebody else is using the crossroad, because nobody is going to cross one side to cross 3 different sides just to get one side. If you understand what I mean, they just use the pedestrian in a safe way. So if they have the pedestrian signs, it's not rocket science. If they have the pedestrian signs at the cross on the stop sign, it's okay. In the United States, they do it all the time for the school children, and they have to stop.
Okay, let's get some feedback. Let's get some feedback from NRA.
It's just left and right. We like what you say. The most important thing: look to your right first. That's all, and then look to your left and make sure the other side where you're crossing is a clear way as well.
All right, let's hear what the experts have to say. So Alejandro says, well, it seems simple that you'd want to just do one at the four-way stop. Again, what's the logic behind not putting one at the four-way stop directly?
There are issues with putting them at the four-way stop in that and Alejandro kind of almost touched on it as well. in that the once you put a pedestrian crossing sort of in the vicinity of the stop bar, then you force cars to stop typically 8 feet further back from the four-way stop. I don't know if Alejandro's ever driven that four-way stop recently, but when you get there, yes, you should have a turn system, but it seems to be a free-for-all in some instances. So to then have someone stop for a pedestrian and then drive up and then stop again at a stop bar, you're gonna have motorists break that all the time. And it just, the location at the four-way signal doesn't allow, like Sandra touched on as well, you have vehicles who are trying to figure out what the priority is. They're not looking for pedestrians to be in the mix. And the unfortunate part is you do not need a license to be a pedestrian. So a lot of pedestrians have no skills or
barely need a license
understanding
to be a driver.
Right. But my point is pedestrians often don't understand how vehicles are driven.
Yes.
And even the dangers of vehicles, it's apparent to me, some of them don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, my aunt always used to say, well, I've never seen a vehicle in an emergency room. So think about that when you're a pedestrian. And it's quite interesting, the things that you guys have to consider just for something. On the face of it, I'm sure everybody's listening to this program thinking, well, a crosswalk is like the simplest thing in the world to just throw in anywhere. But as we can see, there's a lot of logistical considerations that actually go into where you place a crosswalk.
And if you do it wrong, you're going to get scrutinized by Alejandro or someone else.
He's going to say somebody got to the crosswalk.
We do a lot of studies when we put these in and determine the need of crossing and a lot of times this is what dictates. That particular crossing was actually paid for and funded by the HSA.
Yes.
Because it's for their staff parking essentially. So it was to help them to get their staff across Smith Road in a safe way.
Yes.
I just want you to bear in mind with the crosswalks, the NRA is not the one who actually makes the decision. It's actually a joint decision. It's actually there's a traffic management panel under the traffic law, which is ourselves. The police are involved, the Ministry of Works and Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing. We actually come together to make the decisions and scrutinize where pedestrian crossings are going to go. The NRA doesn't make the final. We don't make the decision. We just put the crosswalks in. We are part of the panel when we contribute, but there actually is a group of people who make that decision.
And then we do our technical know-how then implements these crosswalks, right? And makes various improvements to implement them.
Right.
So it's a joint decision, and then we come as a technical.
In some instances, we'll alter sidewalks and add handicap ramps and do add street lighting or various other things that would help supplement and improve the crosswalk once it's in place, right?
Yeah.
So
let me just go ahead and bring a caller in. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. I've never missed before.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well.
Good.
You know.
Oh, yes. Our driving instructors in the house. Classroom, front and center.
I send my.
All right, here we go.
I send my secretary to pick up my student to the road test. So I'm here for the. And listen. I'm giving this from my teaching class. A vehicle, that road we're speaking of, Hospital Road. I'm speaking from the road code. Page 37 of the road code says, when you're approaching a four-way junction, I gave it to you some times ago. I don't know if you read it.
You refresh my memory.
Okay, listen. I'm going to talk fast, learn fast. All vehicles are arriving at the four-way junction to come to a complete stop, allowing first come to go first.
Okay.
And if two vehicles arrive at the same time, you allow the one on the right to go first. I don't think so. I know so because I've read it a number of times. You got it?
I think so.
And
yes.
Hospital Road is 25 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
And a vehicle traveling at 25 miles per hour is covering 26.65 feet per second.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're driving, behind a vehicle that's in slow moving traffic, you must make sure that you can see where the rear tires of the vehicle is making contact with the road surface. If you can't see where that back tire is touching the road surface, you are too close. If that driver should make any sudden stop or change in his maneuver, you're gonna run the back of his vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know where I learned this, that you should make sure you can see where the back tire is making contact with the road surface. On my driver training course in Staffordshire Motor Training Center, Police Training Center. Now, it makes sense. But otherwise, if you're driving on it like an highway, like on Crew Road or West Bay Road, where the speed limit is, say, but Crew Road is 30 miles per hour. West Bay, some part of West Bay Road, because they're changing now some place to 25 miles per hour. Other areas where you have 30 or 40 is one vehicle lane every 10 miles per hour. Meaning if it's 30, it's three vehicle lanes, 3 car lanes. Following?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some instances where you can't keep up with that, because sometimes you do it and you have people just slip in between and mess up all of that.
Mm-hmm.
They see the space and they just fit right inside there.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to keep the distance and someone else slip right inside the space, because they figure that you're keeping too far.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right, my dear. We're gonna mull that one over. A little bit technical there, but we're gonna try to make that digest. So basically, I think the takeaway is crosswalks are not as simple as you think. You don't just throw them anywhere. There has to be some due consideration regarding the flow of traffic, the safety of pedestrians, and other considerations as to where exactly a crosswalk will be placed. I know that we've touched on this whole concept before on the program of how drivers don't tend to see pedestrians and cyclists as much as people think. We talked about the gorilla experiment and how it applies to road safety, in the sense that you really have to go out of your way to make the road infrastructure system safer for pedestrians. Because when you're in a car, you do not see them. I mean, those of you who drive will know. How many times have you literally had to slam on the brakes, or you just, split second, you saw someone at the last minute and you were just cruising along and just did not ever see them? And it's not, maybe you weren't distracted and you weren't on your phone and doing the other million things that we tend to do in a car, but it's just the optics of what you're expecting to see. And a lot of times we're not expecting to see cyclists, we're not expecting to see pedestrians, and so on. And so there's a whole, area of study on how to make roads safer for pedestrians and for multi-purpose use. You know what the biggest thing is that you can do is actually force everyone to become a pedestrian and a cyclist. And the more people you have walking and cycling, the safer the roads are for those people. Because when you're one of those people and then you go and you get behind the wheel of a car, you're automatically thinking, oh yeah, well, this is the route that I normally take, or you start looking out for them more than you would have previously. So it's kind of interesting because, of course, most people never walk on the streets. I mean, this sounds really bizarre, but I can't remember when I did this, but a couple of years ago, it was a little bit of an experiment. I walked from down by the pharmacy there on Smith Road, all the way to Cricket Pitch and then back again. And the things that you see when you're a pedestrian and you're walking I mean, you never see when you're in a car. And so maybe everybody just needs to walk more, like park the car and start walking to all your appointments and stuff. Use the roads to see exactly what's going on. Yeah. All right. So what else is being considered in terms of just overall road safety? We talked about, of course, I think Alejandro mentioned crosswalks for schools. I did notice a couple days ago that there was a police parked by the Savannah Primary School during the afternoon hour when the kids are getting out. Just as that during school time, that crosswalk becomes an active, I don't know what the correct technical term is, but it becomes like an active school crossing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the people tend to not look at the school zones. They do flash for 15 miles per hour, and I know that they get a tendency to be ignored in various locations. The police do go out every once in a while to police them. But it's very hard for them to be everywhere all the time. But that crosswalk is very heavily used by kids going home. So you got to take due care with those the school zones. And I know most of us are always busy. We're trying to get our kid, we're trying to get them home, whatever. And we tend to ignore the school zone that it is 15 miles per hour when this thing is flashing during certain times of the day. And we do have a tendency to ignore them, which is the fine is pretty hefty. So you just please don't ignore the school zone during those times. I know we got 2 weeks off. I'm not sure. Private schools are out. I think the public schools are still in for a day or two. But we need to be mindful of those school zones, because it's just for the safety of not just ourselves, but for the kids that are walking around. Just they may not be crossing, but they're on the sides of the roads, they'll be on their bikes, etc. And they're probably still learning the rules of the road. So please take due care with them.
Yeah.
So they may do something wrong. So.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Is there any reason why here we don't have, in the States, they have the seniors, and it gives them something to do as well, who act as like crosswalk patrols, I think is what they're called.
Things like that. They're allowed by the law. You can have a school warden. I think you can. Yes.
They're allowed. Sorry, you said they're allowed by the law?
I think so. Yeah. School wardens. I know the Catholic school, they have one, they help people cross between the school and the parking lot there in the mornings and the afternoons. That's a security they hired a security officer to do it, to help them cross at that section of the road.
Well, you're right, Sandra. I'm not sure why more schools don't do that. At least kind of have someone stand by there during opening and closing hours while people are using that.
Especially at the primary schools, help them cross the roads, etc. Or just safety in general.
Okay. All right. I just noticed that when we get a WhatsApp call, for some reason, your audio, so I just dropped Miss Amelia, but I'm going to call you back. The audio didn't have your actual guest, so that's why your call was dropped, because I'm sure she's typing me now. Why did you hang up on me, honey chow? Miss Amelia, good morning.
Good morning, honey chow. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored beyond all measures.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful day in paradise.
Wonderful. What's
my
on
question?
Your mind?
My question is regarding road safety with NRA. Miss Marian, have you visit or your team visit in our communities evening times at night to see how our streets are congested with people parking on the streets and not and if we have an emergency vehicle was to come in during the night, now that we have bigger ambulance, we have bigger fire trucks on island, what is being done on NRA's behalf to ensure that our roads stays clear, that they're not congested? Because in July Street, cars are parked on two sides of the road. Templewood Street, cars are parked on two sides of the road. Templeton as well, and Watlers Road. Oh my gosh, Watlers Road as well. We have boats are being parked in road space, and it seems as if it's okay. But at the end of the day, what about if an emergency vehicle needs to get in? What is being done, or what plans do you have with that? to ensure that the roads are being kept safe.
Okay, thank you, caller. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so the question then really, I think, is about people who are using the roadway for parking, residential, customers in particular, who are parking vehicles in the roadway, especially in narrow areas such as the Windsor Park area. There's just not a whole lot of space to be doing that. So what's the position?
Yeah, I mean, parking on the side of the road is, I mean, it's not something we can stop. Generally we ask the public not to park at junctions or near junctions to block sight lines and whatnot. But I mean, if anyone is blocking the road, that's a police matter for the police to get involved and deal with that. But I mean, it's not really something that the NRA deals with, I guess.
Because we have, the problem is it could be considered obstruction, and the police could get involved at that stage.
If it's a repeated problem, usually we'll usually meet with the community officer and maybe have some no parking striping installed on the particular areas that it is a problem. But it's not something that we can necessarily stop.
It's a problem when particular developments, they're only built for a certain size and a certain number of vehicles, but then the people actually have, most of us, a lot of people already have, they have 4 or 5 cars, and it's you only have 2 parking spots. So unfortunately you do park on the road, which it is a problem. And I do see it we do see it as a problem. And I agree with Ms. Romelia, the fact that some locations, especially I wrote down all the streets she mentioned, that yes, they do. Sometimes the emergency vehicles will have an issue getting in and out of certain locations because the roads are narrow and people are parking on both sides of the road. It is an issue, and it is something we are looking at with the police in general to see what we can do about it.
And on the engineering side, some of our older roads, so our older driveways and whatnot, NRA has stepped in to widen those to allow for proper emergency vehicle access. We've done several roads all throughout West Bay and Bordentown, and I mean island wide really, where we've widened in the past few years to allow emergency vehicle access. But as for people parking and blocking those roads, that's definitely a police matter, and the police should get involved.
Right. Okay, but how do we see Miss Vicky is asking for a crosswalk by Foster's West Bay. So how do people go about if they, have a request for a crosswalk in a particular area? How do they go about making that request from the NRA?
You actually can email the NRA at nra@nra.ky, if you caught that.
All right, just repeat.
And we will take NRA at nra.ky.
So NRA at nra.ky.
Yes, ma'am. And we will take that request, and we take it to the traffic management panel for consideration.
All right. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
And we have been very receptive to new locations. Sorry.
I heard NRA stated that regarding the police. I'm saying now, it cannot be a police matter when NRA did not put yellow lines there.
Actually, ma'am, you actually don't need yellow lines for the police. They can actually go in and do obstruction.
Okay, just 1 second for me, Marion. So basically the NRA says that it doesn't have to have yellow lines there for it to be a police matter. So just
as long as you're obstructing emergency
access.
access.
That's another one. It's been reported with NRA that we need the yellow lines, and also we need mirrors with blind spots. NRA, you guys are not doing your job. Okay. This is from Windsor Park. I'm telling you, I've reported it several times. When the police come here, the police come when somebody's having a party. They don't come when the cars are there. Yesterday, a car got hit. Okay? NRA, you're not doing your job. sometimes the park, we need Windsor Park to clean up.
Let me just ask you a question, caller. A parked car got hit?
Yes, it did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's on an ongoing situation in Windsor Park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I really need it to be clean.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. So some concerns there about people. I mean, I guess the police and the NRA can do some things, but ultimately it's for the residents of the community to take pride in their neighborhoods and to consider how they're impacting other people that have to live in that neighborhood. And as Ms. Ramilia rightfully pointed out, there's a real issue and a real concern of emergency vehicles not being able to get access to homes in that area, because of cars basically in the evening time taking up the entire roadway. Yeah. So just to clarify, Marion, you were saying that there's not a necessity for double yellow lines to be done.
No, if it's an obstruction, the police can, under the law, deal with it that way, intervene in that aspect. You don't actually need the double yellow lines. They can under the law use obstruction.
Yeah.
They can.
I mean, usually the yellow lines only comes in if it's an area where it's a repetitive violation, and you're talking to people and you just can't you can't get them in any other way. Then we'll be usually stepping into the lines. But the problem is that the lines can only be painted on hot mix asphalt. The thermoplastic lines can only be painted on hot mix asphalt. Yeah. So anything else is just the install is just tougher for our guys, I guess. Yeah. We don't have the equipment to install and chip and spray.
We are moving from the yellow lines as well, because they're causing some issues and we're moving over to the signs themselves and no parking signs. But to be honest, the WL lines weren't meant for residential areas. They were more meant for commercial areas, so cars don't park on main roads, et cetera, et cetera. They weren't actually meant for the residential areas. But we are going to look into it. And we have been talking with the police in this regard. We have a little committee set up to actually speak about these issues in terms of road safety and specifically the parking issues in small residential areas with narrow roads, which we do have right-of-way constraints, to be honest, because they are narrow. If we had to widen it out, it would be a land acquisition issue to actually accommodate better sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera. So there is that concern as well.
Right.
To be considered.
I mean, do you have a caller in the line? Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Hope all is well with you, Sandy.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one quick thing to the NRA. There is Foster's in West Bay, Foster's Republic Supermarket. It desperately, urgently needs a crosswalk. And people is getting off the buses and people is, living in surrounding areas. Please, I'm asking NRA to see about a crosswalk. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. I wrote it down for consideration.
Okay, she's written it down. Thank you so much, my dear. All right.
I will take it to traffic.
Yes, 936-2626 is the telephone number. We have some comments that are coming in. First of all, Jonathan, you've been placed in timeout. Jonathan, I know you have this singular thought about this bridge. We're going to get to it, and our guest can certainly comment on the bridge. But he's obsessed with the bridge. But in the meantime, we're not going to allow any name calling of our guests and rudeness in the comment section. This is the second time in 1 week that you've been placed in timeout on Facebook. You get 3 strikes and then you're up for good. So one more timeout and I'm going to actually block you entirely. I want to make it very, very clear, folks. I have the patience of Job some days, most days, and I allow a lot of leeway and I allow you guys to jest with each other in the comment section and you go back and forth. But there is a degree of respect that you have to maintain. Whatever your position is, you have to maintain it. And so when you continually show disrespect on different topics, my patience is going to run out. And then it's the end of the line. And there will be no second chances when you're blocked, just to be clear. All right. So we have Miss Sue that says NRA needs to finish what they started in Savannah Meadows with the speed bumps. It's still a speed track down Ellicott Avenue. So let's talk a little bit about sleeping police, aka speed bumps. I know that a number of them are kind of all over the place. Once again, I'm assuming it's the same email address, NRA at nra.ky, to request consideration for speed bumps.
Yep. And speed bumps has an entire process associated with that as well. Marion can fill everyone in on the steps. I would love to help, but I don't want to get anything wrong.
The speed hump process actually does require, it's a multiple steps. It actually requires a community action request form, which is actually on our website for the person who is requesting the speed humps to actually go on the website, or we can send it to them to make this request for a certain location. They actually need to get 75%. NRA at NRA.ky. They need to get.
Sorry. Yes, let me correct that.
Yeah.
We're reading your ticker there.
Sorry.
Yep.
They need to get 75% signature, 75% of signatures of the residents in that general location for the speed humps. And then they email it back to us. So however they want to get the form back to us, they email it or scan it, whatever, get it back to us. And then we have a list of speed hump locations, because then we go out and look at the location to consider the speed humps, what type of road it is, the traffic flows, pedestrian flows, all the stuff you've been mentioning on and on during the show. And then we unfortunately can only do speed humps when we have the money to do so. It always comes down to the money side of things.
So we have a long list for speed humps.
We have a long list, and they are unfortunately they are prioritized based on location,
and time
and the money. So we do the basic one is to get the form, fill it out to the best of your ability, email it back to us, and then we will investigate and consider the speed hump locations.
And someone just mentioned that regarding the caller talking about the Windsor Park area, they're in the delivery business, and they say that delivery vehicles often have a hard time even getting into Windsor Park to do deliveries. So that could be anything from your gas and utilities to, water trucks and so on.
Yes.
I think the problem, and this is something we just have to be honest about, this isn't an NRA problem. This is a problem for many, 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 many years, where we have elected officials who have allowed the overdevelopment of a particular area. When you look at the population density of Windsor Park, I mean, maybe we need to reach out to ESO and get those numbers, but it is just looking at it, even without the actual numbers, I can tell you that it's extremely high. It's crazy high, right? And so you've had homes, for example, that were only intended for maybe 4-person occupancy that now are holding 10 people. And with those 10 individuals, most likely comes 10 cars, 2 junk cars on the side, a couple bicycles, 5 dogs, and some walking cats.
A jet ski.
Yeah, and a jet ski. And, so I think really the issue is lack of planning, and everyone in Windsor Park wants to chop up their house into a tenement yard because they're like, we need to make this side hustle money from renting our homes. And Windsor Park is considered a very economical area to live. And so, the residents have helped create the problem by doing that. And of course, the officials, both the elected officials and planning, have not been able to tell people, no, you can't continue to make Windsor Park a tenement area, because there just isn't the physical space for it. The way that Windsor Park was initially designed and laid out, it wasn't designed for the population density that's in there now. And so now you're having all these overflow issues of, traffic. The roads were never built to be that wide. People have no parking in their yard. Even if some of them knock down partially a wall and try to create parking, it just can only hold 1 or 2 cars. And if you've got 5, 6 or more people in a home, it's a problem. Believe me, I do sometimes go into Windsor Park and I look at the situation. I just have to shake my head. You can't really probably correct a lot of those issues, and there'll be very limited things realistically that the NRA can do. Now, of course, as Alejandro has rightfully said, the police have a job to do in terms of enforcement. But you do understand that they would be down in Windsor Park every single night enforcing a situation, and what else are they going to get accomplished? You know? I mean, is there any possibility for Windsor Park that there's a piece of parcel of land somewhere close by where maybe a parking garage could be created? And then as a result of that, people could walk or, you know, catch shuttles or something. I mean, there has to be some other traffic management option as opposed to trying to add more and more vehicles to the residential area of Windsor Park. And I think planning needs to start. Y'all are not going to like this, I know. Planning needs to start really evaluating what's happening in Windsor Park and telling some of the homeowners in Windsor Park, you cannot continue to chop up your house and make it a tenement yard. And nobody's going to like that, because you're like, that's my money, Sandy. That's my side hustle. And I get it. But then what? You know, you're creating an untenable situation for everybody that lives in the area. Good morning, Amelia.
Morning again. Sandy, the problem is planning. Planning don't care. We have been trying to meet with planning for quite some time, and they refuse to meet with us. The problem is that we have people who turn their dwelling homes into apartments. No parking space. When you report it to planning refuses to act. They drags it out, and they have this thing about once 5 years has passed, there's nothing they can do. And it's creating a hazard in our communities. I cannot get a meeting with Haroon Pandui. I have been trying to meet with Haroon, and I cannot get a meeting with him to discuss these issues. You understand? It's like they just don't care, and it's like no matter how.
I think, Miss Amelia, the bottom line is, I mean, he's a civil servant, so maybe he's not as free to tell you what I just said, right? You have got, 30 years worth of development in that area, overdevelopment, and you've squeezed in way more people than Windsor Park was ever intended to have. How do you think Haroon Pandui is going to fix that?
Utah, when they get reports, deal with it. Whenever something
illegal, he can't undo the mess that Windsor Park already is. So you have to understand that there are very limited things that can happen with Windsor Park. Do you think? Let me ask you a question as a resident of the Windsor Park area. Do you think there should now be a cap on not allowing anybody else to move into Windsor Park? So no more apartment rentals, no more chopping up homes any further. And control the population density in that area?
No, my intake on it is, Sandy.
Well, if you say no, then how's this going to work? Because more and more people are going to be moving into Windsor Park because it is a very inexpensive area in which to rent.
Sandy, hear me out. Hear what I'm saying. You have people. Okay, let me give you an example. We had is the same issue by the Georgetown Primary School. And we had, after the police went and started giving tickets, what the owner did, took down his wall, and the people start to park in the property of the streets. But you see, these people in Windsor Park, they refuse to take down their walls and allow the cars, the tenants, to be parking on the streets and creating a hazard. What is more important? A tenant a landlord receiving money, or the safety of our people that are walking these streets, or emergency vehicles getting into our people? Which is more important? I think if they have a wall, they need to take it down, or they should be ordered to take it down to allow the tenants to park on their properties, not in our streets. Our streets were not made for parking.
And I agree with you, but how many of these tenement yards even have yard space? I mean, I've been in Windsor Park, and most of them, I'm surprised that that's even a quarter acre of a lot. How many of them actually have yard space that people could park in? I mean, I know where you live, for example, right on that's July Street.
Yes.
And I look at those homes as you go up that little miniature hill, and you can take down all the walls that you want. I'd be parking in your living room. There's no parking area in your yard, right?
Let's say, for example, 3 vehicles holding my yard. How many adults do you have living in your house right now? Just as an example. 3.
You have 3 adults. And
3.
every one of them has
Yes.
a vehicle, right? Say
Yes.
you have another child who something happens to the child and they have to move back home. So they're coming to live with you. And they also have a vehicle. Where is that vehicle going to park?
Honey child, they're gonna figure that out, but I know it's not gonna be on the roadside.
Right? So
not on the roadside.
This is what I'm telling you now, right? This is part of the problem with Windsor Park. So I think, I mean, I guess the residents of Windsor Park maybe need to make a decision and tell your elected officials, your MPs, what is it that you want? Have you now said, right. Are you now saying that, listen, we can't take any more? This is too much. We don't want anybody else moving in to the beautiful area of Windsor Park, and that's it.
Honey child, that's another case on its own.
But it's not.
Also,
that's the problem. It's not on its own. All of these things are interconnected. You know what I'm saying?
It's interconnected, ma'am. You child, when you got MP, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
When you got MPs, who cares about the well-being of the community?
Yeah,
we don't.
Well, again, even your MP. I mean,
Can
Barbara's
I
been
come
in
in
there.
on this subject?
How many terms? She's been there 2 or 3 terms now. Two terms.
I think this is 2.
Yeah, but what do you want her to do about a problem that has existed for 30 years?
We'll have 7 cars.
All right, Ramelia, leave me there. We're gonna have our guests jump in on this. I think Miss Marion, you wanted to jump in. Oh, sorry. No,
I'm not sure.
No, sorry. We had a call on the other. I heard a voice just now that said that they wanted to
I
jump
don't know
in.
who that was.
Not sure what that was. I think I'm going to be this side.
There was many lines going on here. Morning caller, welcome to the program.
Yeah, I'm back again.
Yes.
What happened is in Gardens to the Windsor Park area again.
Mm-hmm.
We have land that we did ask the owners to allow people to park.
Mm-hmm.
We are aware of our situation, yet still we know that we need a bus system in Windsor, pick up people and drop them off at the major areas. A bus system, we come up with a lot of situation, lot of ways of alleviating the parking here. One other thing is that Windsor Park, once you mentioned about the extra houses and rooms that we are renting, please note, those people are immigrants, okay? Therefore,
who's immigrants?
If you are on
the homeowners or the renters?
No, the renters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying a large number of them are expat workers.
Correct, expats. Immigrants. And they need to be able to go to work. We need to say when the person come here, they're not allowed to have cars. Where they're coming from, half of them where they're coming from, they've never driven. They don't know how to drive, and they get cars. And they're driving and creating a big mess on the island. Half the time, that's where the accident keep happening.
Yes.
People coming from their country, and
we
do not know how to
put that restriction, but let's be very fair to them.
Yes, we can.
We can't put that restriction in place without having a solution which offers reliable transportation. That's only fair.
That's why. Yeah, but I did say that initially, didn't I? I said we need a bus system within Windsor Park, and the people who are here, because the owners of this Windsor Park, most of them do not live in Windsor Park.
Okay.
Most do not no longer live in Windsor Park. They're only renting out the place and cutting up the house and X, Y, and Z. We need a good bus system. We need the proper laws to put in. When people come, you cannot have a car within, let's say, the first 7 years that they're. But people come here, they car, they need to leave after 7 years. You know what they do? They leave the car. They can't get. They try to sell the car, and then after that, they can't sell the car. They just leave the car and go back to their country.
All right, thank you very much,
caller. We have to deal with the rats and everything else when the car is staying there. And We asked the planning department, please come and pick up the cars. It did wait until maybe a year later before anything happened in regards to picking up cars, old cars around the place. I'm going by.
All right, thanks very much. Let's catch up with a few comments. I did see one of our callers, Miss Darlene, calling us from the UK. So, Miss Darlene, good morning and welcome to the program.
No, my phone is giving.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Hello.
Hi, morning. Uh-oh. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, let me see. I think she was having a little bit of, she said something about her phone, so maybe she was having a little bit of an issue. I'll try calling her back. All right.
Hello.
Hey, morning. Good morning.
Sandy?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Oh boy. Let me call you back.
Okay. I think she's having a little issue with the phone. All right, let's read some comments in the meantime. Alejandro says, I agree 100%, Sandy. Natasha weighs in. Natasha says, when homeowners report these illegal tenement yards to planning or NRA, they do nothing. Now the homeowners who do follow the rules, they're the ones that they want to threaten. So just to be clear, NRA, do you guys have anything to do with illegal tenement yards in any way?
No.
No, that's not you. That's a planning issue. So maybe we need to invite
That's a planning enforcement, yes.
and find out
derelict,
what's going on there.
Derelict vehicles is
the DH.
DEH.
Yes.
Right. Aliano says, I agree. Yes, I agree with oversaturation of Windsor Park, but it was poor transport access and reliability. But something's missing there. But poor transport access and reliable transportation services. But I get what he's saying. Again, it really just comes down to having more reliable public transportation options available to people. Good morning, caller. It looks like you've muted yourself. Hi, caller. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you, Andrew.
Hello. So while we get that sorted out, looks like you're muted. Andrea says the NRA can only do so much because Windsor Park.
We have funds.
Because Windsor Park is overpopulated. On the other hand, NRA has been doing a good job as well and continue to do so. Yes, kudos to the NRA. I think people don't always appreciate what you guys have on your plate. And that's one of the reasons why, we encourage these government agencies to come on the program to really just educate people, because if people don't know, they always speculate and they think they know what's going on. Siobhan says Windsor Park is a mess, unfortunately. Alejandro says Parliament works that way. Isn't it? Seems like it's working. Moy says the road by Kirk's Home Center is very bad. World War I, only tanks can walk on it. Which road is that? Oh, that's Baden Road, I think is what it's called.
Yes, that's Baden Road, yes.
Yeah, Baden Road.
I haven't been down there in a while.
That is
So
one of the main roads.
Really bad. Is that the paving that's the problem, or I'm not sure.
I think that.
All right, Miss Darlene, can you hear us now? Miss Darlene? All right, Miss Darlene, can you hear us now? You might want to turn the radio down in the background, but we can hear you. Hello? I don't know what's going on. Keep muting yourself for some reason. Not really sure. Yes, hello. Hi. We can hear you.
Oh gosh.
Just talk because we can hear you.
It's my phone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna just WhatsApp her. If you just talk because we can hear you. All right, so let's see what else we got here. We've got Everton says, I'm talking about the people that live in the neighborhood. They don't care how to keep the neighborhood, and that's not fair for the people who want to keep the neighborhood clean. Some people does not deserve to live in certain neighborhoods. They're trash. Okay. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Yeah, sorry about that, Sandy.
Yes.
Yeah, I was listening, and my take on it is that even we're struggling bad with the traffic. We need to take a survey, I think, to see how many people will actually use the public transport, or is there going to be some laws to put in place for this to happen? That's one. And to be honest with you, anywhere as you go, you're gonna have a problem with, or we make it a problem, but it don't have to be. As far as parking on the side of a road, I mean, show me where you go. I mean, sometimes you cause your own problem. We have a house that got 4 or 5 cars. Which yard gonna hold 4 or 5 cars to not be on the roadside? So I think we need to, maybe that's just my opinion, that we take a survey to see, because first thing, government go spend millions and millions of dollars, and people still end up using their cars or whatever.
Absolutely.
So that's my take.
Thank you so much. And I think that that's a good point, because, all week we've been stressing this point about the data has to be there to support decisions that government is making. So everybody is yelling, we need proper transport, public transport. But how many of you, let's do a little 5-minute poll, 936-2626. How many of you would actually use public transport if it was good? Now, I notice with interest, all of the restrictions that you guys are willing to put in place impacts somebody else. Let's put it on the foreign workers. They don't deserve a car. They shouldn't have a car. They're here in a work permit. They don't need to get around. They don't need to go anywhere. Make them take public transportation. So put a ban on them. Not a single person has ever recommended putting a restriction or a ban on Caymanians and their ability to own cars. And some Caymanians own more cars than their people living in their homes. So what exactly, folks, are we saying? The rules are good for the other person over there, but not for us because we don't want to make the sacrifice? Alejandro, are you willing to take public transportation?
I do it often, very often. I have my own car, but I prefer to take the public transportation because I can't deal with driving amongst people that don't know how to drive sometimes.
All right, leave us there because I want to do a quick poll on this. 936-2626. Alejandro says he's currently using public transportation because he gets frustrated with driving. Let's get some more calls. Let me know how many of you currently have a car. Are you going to get rid of your car? And by the way, where are we going to put all these cars? All of a sudden we get a big fancy transport system. Are all of you taking your cars to the dump, or what are you doing with your vehicles? Caller, what's your vote?
Hi. Not exactly voting, but I just wanted to say that I think a lot of people actually got cars or tried, like expats tried to get cars simply because the transport system is so bad. So I mean, you're kind of forced to go ahead and try to get your own transportation because it's not reliable.
Right.
So
yeah.
But I don't think having a car.
I want to know about everybody else.
I don't think anyone would put their car aside and then go back to taking the bus. That's just being honest.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, folks. 936-2626. Moore says a family of 4 have 7 cars. DJ Yo-Yo is in the house. DJ Yo-Yo, buenos dias. He says, morning. Perhaps planning should start looking into developing parking buildings and facilities like Camana Bay and charge a parking fee. You know what is so interesting about this? Just last night, I was actually reading, I need to look it up and see which publication it was, but it was talking about, it was on Instagram, and it was talking about America's obsession with parking garages and how it's not good for the environment. And I'll try to find it, but it's actually a horrible idea. And I never had thought about it before, and I never saw it in that way. And then I went, wow, this is different and interesting. I'm going to see if I can find I mean, it's not really a discussion for today necessarily, but it's something for us to keep in the back of our minds, because, we're following the American model of more parking garages and more cars. And maybe that really isn't the answer either. Something to consider. All right. We've got, you're most welcome. El Rey says, question, why is some of the new roads are built up so high compared to the existing road or land? For example, the section next to the horse stables, some sections it appears to be 6 to 8 feet higher. 6 to 8 feet or inches? I can't imagine it's feet.
No, it wouldn't be feet. It might be 2 or 3 feet higher than the surrounding. I mean, the thing is, some of those areas are low-lying areas, so those are less than 4 feet above sea level around there. You know. So we're trying to build a road that's can stay open during a hurricane and a storm surge and those type of situations. So we can't be building it as low as the adjacent land, right? We got to keep it above storm surge level. So that's the reason.
Okay. And when you do that, are you then putting in, adequate drainage? Because obviously that's going to impact, the flow of things like water and so on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our roads are always built with basically one drain for every 4,500 square feet at least. We often go beyond that because we in some instances we have to do redundancy, particularly the lower areas where we'll add some additional wells to go beyond that. But I mean, we account for all of our stormwater in our newer designs now.
Here's that article that I was talking about here. I'm going to share with you guys. It says America's parking addiction is killing our cities and the planet. So a car-focused culture, including the relevant infrastructure, has significant environmental, housing, and financial cost. America's obsession with parking in particular is linked to difficulty building affordable housing, high carbon emissions, and problems with land use. So this is a super interesting article. I'm going to get the link and share it with you guys. But here's something it says that parking takes up a huge amount of space and money in the US, and its infrastructure exacts huge costs and makes reducing greenhouse gases and improving urban quality of life more elusive. And they're showing you a big parking garage right there. It also goes on to say that some estimates have put the number of parking spots in the US at a mind-boggling 2 billion, which is more than 6 for every registered car in the country. Wow. That's crazy. That really is crazy, right? And then removing cars as well as parking infrastructure would free up land for housing, commercial activity, and recreation, creating prosperous, sustainable cities, starting with ending car dependency. It is so interesting. And there are some communities, Japan and other places, where it's very, very unusual to see people with cars. Instead, they use trains and public transportations, and they do a lot more walking, hence why they have a lot more healthier people in their communities as well. Alejandro says everyone down to children want a car, even underage, and parents out there are okay with it. I'm a talking Caymanian. What I know happening in Cayman somewhere down the line. Everton weighs in, says because the houses are built too close to the road, so for you to extend the whiteness of the road, you'd have to move those houses further back from the street. I guarantee windows and houses were built, they didn't have all that traffic when those houses, yes. So they just have a narrow road, and now you have all this traffic and more residents, so you don't have the parking. Well, I mean, like I said, it's really uncontrolled, expansion in Windsor Park. I mean, I can't imagine that planning should be allowing any further development in the Windsor Park area. There should be no new homes. I don't think there's any land for it, but I'm just saying. And even the expansion of existing properties should be looked at very, very carefully. So Everton says, because in my neighborhood where I live, you can park in the street as well as you can park in your driveway. I have parked in my driveway, and I think Everton lives overseas, and I have my work truck parked in the street, which I have more than one work truck, and we have wide enough roads so emergency vehicles and all other vehicles can go up and down, as well as a snow plow when it's snow season. They can plow the snow with no problem. Scott says, so Scott says, do these people even listen to themselves talk? They need to get to work. We have no bus system, but don't let them have cars. Yes, Scott, thank you. So you can't force one solution on people, because they'll be running to the courts and it'll be held to be unconstitutional unless you have another solution that is readily available. So Ms. Vernita says, I think expats should not own cars. What a mess. Aliano says eliminate people on work permits. And immigrants first year in the country to own vehicles, plain and simple. And we have people passing through the area coming into Georgetown every morning. So what are you saying, Aliano, that you'll pick up work permit holders along the way and hope that you get to your appointment on time, that they get to work on time? Is that what we're going to do? I'm saying it's carpooling, but again, another question I could throw out there: how many of you Caymanians would be carpooling, even just to help your neighbor? Like, you got a neighbor who's on a work permit. That's your friend. That's your neighbor. They say, okay, I'm not going to get a car. Can I count on you to take me to work, or at least into town? And can I also count on you on Saturdays to take me grocery shopping? And maybe I want to go to church on Sundays. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, first of all, I want to say thanks to the NRA for some of the beautiful roads that we have in the Cayman Islands, because I've been elsewhere in the Caribbean and I have not experienced that.
Yes, that's for sure.
Okay, there is some lagging, but most of all, it's like 80% productivity when it comes to the road. Okay, for the solution for all this traffic, it's simple. We can't tell the expats they can't have cars, but we got to stop them from bringing in cars. We have car dealerships here, so let them buy cars on the island. Because what happens, I know of people who have a permit for a laborer, or he's a laborer, has a permit, and he has like about 3 cars that he brought in, and they're renting. So who gets the benefit of that? Not my island, because we don't even charge taxes here that fixes our infrastructure like that, you know? It all goes back on us. So we need to stop this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Because we are not going to restrict them from having cars, but please stop them from bringing cars in. We have dealerships. I don't have a dealership, so I'm not going to make anything off of it. But I believe that would be a great solution at the moment, a great band-aid fix, because it's going to be a multiple effects or multiple fix effects that's going to fix the traffic. But this is one that will surely help it a whole lot.
Yeah.
And that's
so you say the importation of the vehicles is a problem. Use what we have here.
No, personal importation of the vehicle.
Okay.
Personal.
But
when
let
we
me
have
ask
all
you a
these
question
expats
now,
bringing the
though.
vehicle.
Okay, I have a question, right? I know a few Caymanians who are in this business. They bring in cars, and I guess it's a lucrative business is why they're in it. What do you say to those individuals who are in the business of bringing in vehicles? That's their livelihood. So what are you going to say to those Caymanians?
Well, once they have a business license and my country is getting something from it, it's not a problem. It's legal, right? But if you have every Tom, Dick, and Jane that comes off the plane to order a car, what do you think is going to happen? You think if I go to a country and I'm going to be there for 7 years, I'm going to order one of the best cars I could find that's going to be reliable? I want something that's not going to cost me. It's going to be cheap and efficient. So that's what I'm going to buy. So that's where most of the derelict vehicles come from. Because I'm not going to look out for a vehicle that's going to last me a long time. I just need something for now. So that's a major problem. But as I said, we have dealerships here. We have Car City. We have all these different dealerships here. Why can't the government let the expats buy these vehicles from the companies here? Why does every Tom, Dick, and Jane have to bring a vehicle? I agree that we do need a national transportation system to fix most of the problem. But at the moment, that would be a quick fix, and it can be done. It can be done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We got another caller on the line. Let me just answer this question from John LaRue. John, your comment made me chuckle. He says, why don't you put up a daily poll on your website for these topics and perhaps remove the article about a Pennsylvania snowstorm that's been there for like 18 months? So, John, let me explain it to you, because this is where lack of understanding can make you jump to conclusions. And, I know we want that to be a national sport, but you can't get a gold medal and jump into conclusions. What it is there is a section of the website, okay? And this, let me take the time to explain this. I think this is worth explaining for the benefit of John and other people as well. The website, I'm just trying to pull it up here, John, is divided into different sections, and they do different things, right? So this very top section up here, right under this Recover ad, big shout out to Recover. This is based on popularity. So the things that you see scrolling here is what people click on the most, right? So that's what's kind of trending. So right now we have the story about Minister Saunders supposedly resigning, the jewelry store robbery, the cyclist that was killed. It auto scrolls Trump being charged with a felony. There's 2 Trump articles, and that's what's going on. But what happens is it's not about a snowplow. It's actually about a horrific murder with neighbors and automatic weapons and whatever that happened in Pennsylvania. That article, believe it or not, is a 2009 article. Hold on, I'm going to give you the exact date. For whatever reason, it does extremely well in the Google search engine, and people always find it. I can't explain it to you, but when people go and find it and they click on it, so this is from February the 4th of 2021. When people click on that article, wow, it just gets a lot of reads. So if somebody goes right now, and please don't do it, because then it'll show back up in that area. If somebody goes right now and looks at that article again and they start reading it, it pops back up in that area. So that doesn't have anything to do with us. We don't have any control over that. It's just that article just has trended well since it was posted in 2021. It has literally had a million views, 785,941 people have viewed that article. It is the single most popular read article on the website. Now, we do have a poll section on the website, John, and we are happy to update that more often. I wouldn't say that we do a daily poll, but maybe a weekly poll we should be updating. So appreciate the feedback, and I'll have a look at the latest. I don't know what the last poll question was, but we'll have a look at maybe updating that as well. All right, Scott, let's go ahead and take the phone call, and then we'll read some more comments. Good morning, Colin. Welcome to the program.
Morning.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Morning. I just listened to the last caller talk about why people shouldn't be able to bring in cars. I couldn't disagree anymore.
Okay.
Because the reason why I disagree is that that's not the solution to the problem. We're not addressing the problem.
Okay.
What the problem is that people are doing things illegally and nothing is being done about it. And then time passes and then planning says, well, we can't do anything about it now. Right? And so what that means is that people are using homes at densities that were never intended. Let me ask you this question. From a legal perspective, you're looking at the number of bedrooms that can be placed on a piece of property. You think they're saying, okay, you can put this number of 2 bedrooms on the property because planning really intended for you to have 10 bedrooms in each unit, or did they intend to have 2 bedrooms in each unit?
Yes.
Which one do you think it is?
Yeah. And I mean,
that's the problem.
Yeah. And caller, even from the perspective, I mean, nobody's talking about the perspective of safety, like occupancy safety, right? So these homes were designed and approved. Like say it was originally a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house. It was designed and approved to have so many people in that amount of space.
That's right.
And no one is really talking about, we're just talking about the parking on the street and the congestion, whatever. But what about the safety element of all of these individuals? I mean, you have people bed sharing in these accommodations where literally they're in one room and they've got like bunk beds and like 5 or 6 people in one room. If a fire breaks out in that house, heaven forbid, what do you think the outcome is going to be for those 5 or 6 people bed sharing in that one room?
And they're double parking on the road. So there you go. That was never intended to be the case either. But what is being done about it? Nothing. And the suggestions that we're getting is that we should break something else instead of addressing what the actual problem is. I don't subscribe to that way of thinking. I think we should try to compensate by damaging something else. First of all, if you think that all of the people are going to take the bus, you're delusional. That's going to cost the country a ton of money. Let me tell you what would have to happen in Cayman in order for it to be practical to have the bus system work the way that you think it should work. You would have to have, to take the buildings that are spread out all over the island, let's say Grand Cayman, and you'd have to knock them down and you'd have to build high rises so that you increase the concentration of people in an area so that when you pull up nearby, you fill up a bus and you go to an area that's another high-rise building that you work in. Otherwise, what's going to happen is getting from where you're dropped off, you're going to have to walk or ride or some other way of getting to where you really need to go, which is the problem we're having at the moment.
Right. And of course,
if you're disabled,
Billy, we can hear you calling Ebony. I don't know if Ebony's a cat or a dog or
an iguana.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't know I was on there.
We can hear you. But Denny, let me ask you a quick question then about that, right? Because we see a model. Cayman Bay might have been the first area that kind of started this, but in my mind, this makes sense. Where you have buildings that are multi-purpose and multi-use buildings, right? So you might have, for example, shops and restaurants at the bottom. Up at the top, you have residential areas.
Right.
I think there's going to be a couple other models of this expanding beyond just the Cayman Bay location. But that also makes sense, does it not?
Yeah.
From the perspective of housing and planning. Because if I live at Cayman Bay, I can walk to Foster's and walk back across the street and I'm right there. I'm at home. I can go and eat at a restaurant and I don't need a car. Yeah. And I can work in Cayman Bay if I'm at E&Y or other businesses are there. I can walk to the cinema. I mean, it kind of makes sense, this little town center concept that they have built out there makes a lot of sense.
But what we have are thousands of civil servants who come into Georgetown to work each day. Right? So how would you address that?
Well, it's amazing how much work got done during COVID from home. Why can't we continue to allow a lot of our workers to work from home?
I think we can, but what the problem is that I'm sitting and I'm listening to people make recommendations about how you skirt the issue instead of dealing with what the core problem is. The cause is causing the intention of the use of those private places in Windsor Park was never intended to have the density you have today. That's the issue. That's what needs to be addressed, because that's what's causing the people to have multiple cars parking on the road. If double parking, and if that isn't addressed, more people will continue to do it. Why? Because they've heard, well, planning doesn't do anything about it. If you do it and they don't catch you in a period of time, that's foolishness. That's foolishness. That's not the way we should be thinking. Furthermore, when Kenneth Bryan was on your show talking about public transportation, I asked him a question. He didn't answer. And by not answering it, I knew what his answer would be. I asked, if you put in this public transportation system and then you turn around and you figure out ways that you could charge me more for driving my private vehicle so that you could blackmail me into taking the bus using financial blackmail, can I take my gun on the bus? He didn't answer. the person who has to take tools to work with them. You think people are just gonna say, oh, you know what? I'll just take the bus, even though I can't take what I need to take with me.
That's a good
happen.
point. That's a good point. I hadn't even thought of those individuals. And I mean,
happen.
let's be very honest here. Again, this is where having numbers is vital. How many of our expat workers work in the construction industry? Because that could be a large chunk of individuals that we're talking about who have their own tools and need to be able to take those tools to work.
Listen.
We gotta figure this out, but we've got to dig into it a bit more and really look at the different elements of it.
I hear the arguments about carbon, okay? And I think that's being overblown. Where the energy needs to be focused is on creating a new form of energy that you want people to use so that they could switch to it. But penalizing people, causing people to lose their businesses, lose their home, because you think that you're going to impose costs on the cost of things to discourage people from using things that have a carbon impact. If you think that that's the route to go, I think you're going the wrong way. What you do is you provide, you spend the money and do the investment on the alternative tool that you want people to use, rather than penalizing people for using the only option they have. And the people who say go electric clearly didn't check to see what kind of fuel COC is using to generate electricity. The idea that you think that the country can just depend on solar, that's great. You know what's going to happen? When Ivan's ex-wife comes stomping through Cayman and smash up your solar grid, the probability is that other islands would be damaged as well, which will mean that we and them will be vying to replace panels all at the same time, and I can assure you the price won't be the same. Okay? Secondly, how much time will it take for us to recover from such an event? How long would you like to be out of power because you think solar power is a great idea? I think that because we live in a region in which hurricanes pose such a significant risk to us, our base load should not. Our base load needs to be something more reliable and have it supplemented by solar.
What's more reliable?
Nuclear.
Wow, that's a hot topic. All right, Denny, leave me there. We got Billy on the line. Billy, good morning. Hello, Billy? Hello? Is Billy still there?
Unmuted.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that a while ago. I thought I was on different hold. I didn't realize it was hold.
Yes.
I agree with a lot of what Dennis said there. And you win the park people. But as usual, nothing in life is ever just one simple solution. And what I've not heard anybody talking about, or the government, is two things. One, the overpopulation of the island, overall overpopulation, because you're displacing your Caymanian heritage people, your multi-generational Caymanian. You're trying to assimilate this foreign element. And the problems that we're having from that is already manifested in many ways and will be manifested in more ways. But when you want to deny what your problems are, when you see the effect of the problem, you will not want to link it to the problem and the cause of the problem. Multiple problems that we have are linked to cheap labor. And remember, cheap labor, like cheap interest, like cheap this and cheap that, is very expensive in the end. Build cheaply, only use a little 1/4-inch plywood on your roof. Yeah, you got a roof on there. Until then it says, till Ivan's ex-wife or uncle or somebody comes along, and then all of a sudden nobody has a roof if you're using your 1/4-inch plywood and little finishing nails to hold it down. And so when you look at cheapness from the beginning, and cheap labor is very, 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 one more very expensive, and square that last very, okay?
All right.
Immigration is charged with the responsibility of having know where the accommodation is for people. Find out from them how many times have they checked as to where these people, do they really live there? Or they just get somebody to sign this lease? How many people are supposed to be living in that location? On Crew Road, advertised last year before last, 3-bedroom can sleep 12. That is what we're happening. We are not looking. We are not. And then we have a country where the government departments operate in silos, not sharing information with one another. And then we have a government that doesn't really tell us what's going on. If EXCO, start with cabinet from the top down. Why should we not have verbatim on 90% of what's discussed there? Why did they extend? You can't even get minutes. You used to be able to get minutes after, I think it was 20 years. They've increased the length of that before you can hear what went on in cabinet for the decision. And if you operate in this withholding of information, there's sex abuse law, I forget what they call it, that they now have, and advertising, want people's opinion, want people comment. Why is that not done for every law? Why are they changing the land registry law and the prescription law to facilitate the taking away of our accesses to the beach, to further make it worse than what they did when they did the change to the law in 2018?
So you're saying that there are amendments to laws happening and there's no public consultation period?
Correct. Right now, if you go and look at November the 30th cabinet minutes, remember September the 20th, they did publish a bill to amend the 2018 registered land law and prescription law. We objected to it because that was retroactive. First law that they did that came out in 2016, dated 2018. What they did with that was made it so that right-of-ways could be taken away by the court. Before a right-of-way, if all the beneficiaries didn't agree, then the landowner couldn't take it. And so they changed it so you could go to court, and that's what was tried to be done at the end of October 2019. A secret trial is what the DART organization tried to do, and we went in as interveners. Because the Attorney General, the Public Lands Commission, the Ministry of Land, and the Registrar of Land were not going to represent the public's interest. And remember, the function of an Attorney General is to represent the interest of the public, not the people in government, really. You examine what is the function of that. The government should have its separate legal advisors for the politicians and what they're doing. And so they were trying to get this done in secret. And that matter is still in court, where they tried to take away and shut down registered right-of-ways, decades and decades old. And they will do it now if they come out with this new law that they now circulated. We can only surmise, and I would hope that we're wrong, because they won't discuss it. I understand it's being discussed amongst some of the members within government. And of course, the DART organization got invited to the meeting, as they always do. They were there, and they are wanting to probably redo what the PPM, UDP, the government tried to do, which was to make it retroactive, and they could do it in secret and take these right-of-ways away from the public that are the beneficiaries of these right-of-ways. So let me just summarize. I didn't really intend to go there.
Yeah, because we do have the we do have the NRA, and obviously
NRA.
Yes.
So back to them. If you were to look in Windsor Park on many areas where there's a concentration of people, and you look how many people are supposed to stay in that house, and now with all this digitizing of this and that, immigration should have the ability of knowing this person sent in, and they've given the names of the people that are tenants at that location. Well, a 3-bedroom house, 12 adults in it, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And you can know people, and I'm sure you know people in Windsor Park, you know people in different areas of Cayman. Down in West Bay, I can name off some areas too as well, where you have overpopulated areas and people living in very small, very cramped places under conditions that are not humane. But how are they going to afford to live on $1,170 a month, working a 45-hour work week? Who can survive on that in Cayman? You can't. You just barely exist. So they get second and third jobs.
All right, Denny.
Those,
Billy, sorry.
So,
yes,
it's a sad situation that we're ignoring these things. The hospitality industry continues to import people, cheap labor. You never hear Peter saying, well, we're looking at increasing the labor rate to a livable wage. What is a livable wage? No, you don't hear that.
All right, Billy, I'm gonna rein you in a little bit. Jim says I think we're off topic. We have an opportunity to get some questions from NRA
it all
people.
Comes back to traffic. What you're moving people, it is very much on target. Because it's people.
Well, let's keep it a little bit tighter for our guests, because obviously they can't solve all of Cayman's issues.
Cars are not the problem. It's the people in the cars, the number of people that we have to move. So you want to put in bus systems on our road systems. Can you imagine driving a big bus in the morning when people want to go to work? You have 10 or 15 big buses trying to get through Windsor Park to pick up people. It's utter nonsense. We have overbuilt and underserved. Why is it? Let's talk the side of the road. Why is it that we have to have sidewalks for a commercial building, but not for a private residence? What's the function of a sidewalk? For people to walk so they don't walk in the road. How many people have been killed in the road? How many people? You have a sidewalk on Walker's Road, but basically just on one side of the road. And people need to walk on two sides of the road.
Okay, leave us there. Thank you very much.
Every street should be able, you're putting something new, should have sidewalks everywhere.
All right, let's end it there. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. Again, we do have the National Roads Authority in the house today. They're in the class. They're giving us their expert knowledge and information. So let's keep it tight. Let's talk about this bridge idea. Jonathan has said that this is a solution to all of our traffic woes, to simply build a bridge. We've got two experts in the house. One is a planner and one is an engineer. Why has the idea of building a bridge in the North Sound not been a viable one as the NRA looked at it? Tell us everything that you can about this concept, why it would work, why it wouldn't work. What's the deal with building a bridge?
I mean, the number one thing with building a bridge is the absolutely monstrous cost of building a bridge in the North Sound would be. And then you're talking about building a bridge through protected waterways.
Right, so let's stop a second. When you say the monstrous cost, what are we talking about when you say monstrous? How much money are we talking about here?
We're talking millions of dollars, several million, I mean, over tens of millions of dollars to build a bridge across the North Sound. Furthermore, you'd interrupt all of that waterway. You'd have to have either some kind of activated bridge or you'd have a high enough overpass so everyone who operates a recreational boat can get in and out of, you know, the canals where all these boats are kept, and get out onto the
Someone says,
waterways to enjoy their craft.
I don't know where DeFranco got this from, but he's saying $800 million. I don't know where that figure is coming from. Have you guys ever cost it out?
No, I mean, it's just in the realm of ridiculous. It's not an $800 million realm, I don't think, but it's certainly more expensive than the dock would ever be. You know, and that's up probably around 400 million at this point. So it would certainly be more than that. And then you'd have to build something that would withstand storm surge. So you'd have to over-engineer it. You'd essentially have to build it as strong as they build structures in like the North Sea.
Wow. I mean, and that's no easy feat. So of course you don't have any people on island that can do that kind of construction. So you'd have to bring in a conglomerate.
Yeah, I mean, then you'd have barriers all along the edge of this road and then hope that people don't drive off into the sea and, you know, I mean,
we don't have anybody on island who could do that. We would have to hire consultants to handle that.
Certainly, we don't have the in-house staff to design that. That would have to be designed overseas, and probably the majority of it constructed overseas and brought in portions. Because that's how a lot of those bridges are constructed. They're constructed to be in precast segments and sections, and they'd be all shipped in or boated in some instances. So, I mean,
so in
the construction of that.
What I'm hearing you saying, in no way is it realistic from a cost perspective, from a construction perspective, from the environmental impact that it would have, considering the safety of people using the bridge, storm surge. So it doesn't pass any of the tests in your mind of being a viable solution?
Not in the North Sound. We have other instances where we've sort of planned to possibly build roads over shallow areas outside of where we have other bottlenecks and constraints. We've looked at it, but the North Sound is not a small. I mean, we're not talking a short length. You're talking a significant length of and where would you connect to and from exactly?
All right, Alejandro, we know that you've been pumping Jonathan up on this bridge idea. What's your question or comment now?
Yeah, well, here we go. It sounds like NRA does not want to take away from their baby steps. Because I don't see the reason why that's an excuse that there is not enough people here that can do these things. I mean, all my life I've been in this island. I know we got a lot of the expats coming in doing the work for us, right? Why is it that now, when it was China was supposed to be coming in to build the dock and port out in town, it's okay for them to do that? We need a referendum for this, but then
Alejandro, let's be clear. Let's be clear.
In the King Islands, like the only most shallowest spot that we can actually build a road over. I mean, if you go to Florida,
but Alejandro, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's focus. Alejandro.
You're gonna go right.
Alejandro.
Jumping off of this bridge, right?
Alejandro.
It's your responsibility.
Alejandro. Don't be like George now, or I'm having to go George. Just a second.
Could I ask Alejandro a question?
Hold on.
I'd like to ask Alejandro a question.
He didn't just say the foreign. You're picking on one thing that he said. He actually named at least 5 things that make this not a plausible solution. You picked on one.
But why isn't it?
He just told you. Were you listening? He listed at least 5 things.
So Alejandro, I have a question, Alejandro.
He has a question for you.
I have a question.
Alejandro, he has a question. He has a question for you.
Research over studies and things.
He has a question. He has a question for you. He has a question for you. Go ahead.
Alejandro, do you know what the NRA's budget is for this year?
You can tell me that. You can tell me that.
Yeah, it's what is it, Marion? Somewhere just over 20 million.
That's it.
That's it. And we have to manage all the roads and put in all the speed humps in Windsor Park and build all the east-west arterial.
He's not listening.
No, I'm just trying to explain that the amount of money that we're talking about is several times our budget for the year.
What about how much is it? How much is this going to cost for the one that they're planning on building right now, connecting South Savannah to Easton or North Side, wherever they're going to connect it to?
That road was the last time it was estimated for $65 million.
65 million. Okay.
And that would be built over the course. That would be built over the course of probably 10 years, 10 to 15 years.
Alejandro, listen. He said that 65 million to be built over the course of how many years? 10 years?
10 to 15.
10 to 15 years.
Say. I mean, for the full build out, right?
We're not expecting this bridge to be built this year. We understand it's going to take time. Things don't come like in a snap of a finger. We don't live off of the weeks.
So should we stop building the east-west arterial then build the bridge?
Okay, so Alejandro, the question is, do they stop building the east-west arterial, which they haven't even started yet, and build a bridge instead? Where are you connecting it? Where does the bridge get connected? Where does the bridge get connected to?
I'm not a person who lives in Savannah, but I see a clear path there that says that a green flag to go if you're ready.
No, but where does the bridge get connected to?
The bridge can connect to West Bay wherever you guys feel like it's a safer destination because hey, there's 3 locations where you can go into town in West Bay Road alone that you can exit into to go into town from a boat. So why can't there be 3 or 4 locations that you can enter to connect to this bridge?
All right, let them answer the question.
And just make it be a carpool and you have some respect.
Okay, let them answer that question. So why can't you build it and connect it to these 3 or 4 locations? Lord have mercy. It's hard when people just have an idea.
You're talking about connecting a bridge that's supposed to be a shortcut to the furthest part of the island. I mean, if you could connect this bridge to town, yeah, but then you'd have to put it right through the airport, which is essentially impossible. Then you're going to locate the connection of the bridge further and further west. Then who is that going to serve? Are you serving people who live in North Side and work in West Bay? Who are you serving? Because nobody from Bodden Town is going to drive to North Side to use a bridge to get to West Bay.
Exactly. I know I wouldn't.
I'm just not certain how that would function.
Yeah. What do you think the obsession is with a few people with this bridge idea? I mean, it sounds so crazy to me because on the one hand, we say that we're trying to preserve Cayman's like uniqueness and our small town feel and whatever. And a bridge isn't small town for an island. Is there any island in the Caribbean that has a bridge like what these people are suggesting?
Not that I'm aware of, not for any significant portion. I mean, you'll have areas that they'll have bypasses and where they go through areas of wilderness and that kind of stuff. But I mean, as far as bridges over open, it's not a cheap way to build roads. So it's like the most expensive way you can build a road is to elevate it or build it on a bridge or an elevated slab or carriageway. I mean, there's just so much engineering that's involved in that.
I mean, they make it sound so easy, but DeFranco says that he got his estimates from the 7 Mile Bridge in Key West, Florida, $800 million. And of course, if it costs that in Key West, you can double that probably in Cayman pricing by the time you take labor and importation of materials and everything else into consideration. Charles says, if some people can't drive straight on a straight road, imagine on a bridge in the air, build a highway on the outskirts of the island and merge off roads to districts. I suppose it's frustrating for you guys to hear these ideas and not be able to have people listen as to why it's just not feasible and it's just not something that's going to work. Alejandro says that Florida has hurricanes. And we also saw that bridge during the last hurricane in Florida. Didn't part of the bridge get washed away and collapse completely?
Yes. They had major damage, several $100 million worth of damage to that same bridge. And those people are cut off until that gets repaired as well. Anyway, that's.
Let me try to remember which bridge that was. I think it was the Sanibel Causeway Bridge collapsed in places as Hurricane Ian passed through Southwest Florida. At least 3 sections of the causeway were washed away by storm surge. And this happened, folks, September of last year. So
And then,
that's what we think is a good idea for Cayman.
So the other thing too, right? These panels have the potential to wash away in a storm surge. So whose house do you think they're gonna wash through, and who's you know, they're gonna wash into land and they become sort of battering rams and will destroy further property. Yeah, it's just not a good idea.
I mean, Alejandro, you're the one who said Florida has lots of hurricanes. So let's look at the evidence here, since we're gonna go there. And let's talk about the bridge. All right, let's have a few pictures here to give y'all a visual of what we're talking about, folks. This is what happened to portions of that bridge during that hurricane. And to be clear, I can't remember what force was Hurricane Ian. It was a pretty strong storm, but this is what you're looking at: bridge collapsing, parts of it completely gone and underwater. And then those people who might have been relying on that are stranded wherever it is that they live. And this is connected to a much larger waterway. Where did the bridge go? Did it just wash out in the ocean somewhere? Like, I don't know what happened to it, but it's interesting to think about the environmental damage that might have resulted from that as well. So you guys are free to go and look at, I mean, there's numerous images of the bridge and what happened to it. You know, feel free to go and have a look, but it's shocking, really. I think, I mean, I don't know. There doesn't.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Natasha says Cayman is not Key West. DeFranco says Jamaica doesn't have a bridge, but they did plow a mountain to build a bypass. Yeah, and I mean, every time they have a mudslide, that I don't know if y'all have even been through Junction Road in Jamaica. You'd be surprised what happens to areas like that when the mountainside comes tumbling down. The roadway is blocked and people can't get in and out. There was actually a bridge going to St. Mary. Now, I'm no expert on Jamaica, so if I get the exact areas wrong, you'll have to forgive me, but there was a bridge. I only know this because my mother-in-law has to go through Junction Road and would take this bridge, you know, all the time. And it took them years. The bridge got washed away during a storm, and it literally took their National Roads Authority, whatever they call themselves, in Jamaica. It literally took them years to rebuild the bridge. They moved it further down the way. And I can tell you that it is just a constant issue when it comes to road infrastructure and trying to, just trying to get passable roads and stuff like that. So I don't know. I know you guys are fixated on it, but I think we need solutions that can be implemented relatively in a cost-effective way that is going to be useful, that's going to be used by people. I mean, I haven't heard any compelling evidence that makes this bridge idea. It's a pie in the sky sort of idea is what it is. And, sometimes I think we do get attached to fantasies. It's like that girlfriend or boyfriend that you shouldn't be in a relationship with, but in your mind, it looks good. In your mind, you're like, Mom, I want to date this person. And your mama's like, oh, honey child, this is never going to work. Just leave that person alone. And you're just looking at all the positives. And your mom's like, nope, 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 and nope. Caller, welcome to the program.
Thank you. What options do we have to address the bottleneck in the Hurley's roundabout area?
Okay.
Down to the Kings Sports Complex. How do we get around that?
Yes. All right. Let's talk about Hurley's. Thank you, Denny. All right. So there's this ongoing concern, right, that no matter what you do for the Eastern District, so, we put in the expansion of the East-West Arterial. You do all this stuff. It's going to help up to a certain point, and it's always going to then bottleneck when you get back to Hurley's. Hurley's now has a number of, we have a new plaza that's next to Grand Harbor that's gone in. We've got several complexes like behind Grand Harbor across the street that are now being completed. That's adding to significant congestion again in that area. What's the solution for Grand Harbor?
Grand Harbor. Well, as you know, we widened this. We're doing the Shamrock Road widening, and we're continuing it down. We've continued down Crew Road, right? In front of what's that building called?
The Lion Center.
The Lion Center. That section of road. So that's being done now. We've actually had our consultant. We actually are looking at various.
Sorry, Marion, just to clarify, that's going to be expanded into how many lanes?
3 lanes.
3 lanes each direction on both sides. And then that'll change the configuration of the roundabout itself. So we've actually had our consultants has taken a look at that junction in particular, and has provided us with various options as to what we can do with the roundabout and what we can do with the road lanes. And we actually we're looking where they presented it to us, and we actually have a number of options that we're going to take a look at, and then present to the public. Not present, maybe get opinion. Let me rephrase that. Get opinion from the public in regards to them, to come up with the most viable option for Grand Harbor. Because you know we're also building the King's Connector. It goes behind, next to the Sports Center.
Along
It goes
Edgewater.
and along Edgewater and goes down Bimini. We're also building that stretch of road. It's kind of a frontage type of road that will connect up into to Bimini Drive. So there's various things actually going on at Grand Harbor at the moment. We do have various options for the Grand Harbor area. We're just
some of that local congestion.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are options being presented. We are still taking a look at what has been presented by the consultant to us, and then we are actually going to get public opinion in regards to them. So there is something on the books. We actually are taking a very hard look at Grand Harbor at the moment, because we know it is a bottleneck. We are looking at the east-west arterial. We've done some connections this way, but now we're taking a look at the Grand Harbor area itself, and we do have things to present to.
Yes. And oops, I think you muted yourself there, Marion. Sorry. And I was gonna say as well.
So we have a short-term plan of widening, right? So we have 6 lanes in either direction throughout that section. And then, as Marion says, we have some long-term solutions to help address the bottleneck. But we do have some of these shorter-term solutions, like the King's Connector, and the additional widening along what would be Lion Center, and then across the street on Baptist side as well.
Yes.
All of those things are moving forward kind of as we speak. We're moving utility poles and getting our deep wells drilled. So a lot of those works are happening right now for that section.
And any plans to make it more pedestrian friendly as well? Because obviously you've got the grocery store there, you've got restaurants,
Yes.
and shops and so on.
Yes, within those particular plans, there are ways to looking at making that area more pedestrian friendly, because as you know, there is a lot more going on in terms of in South Sound itself. You have the apartment complex, the 2 new apartment complexes. On that side to get across to Grand Harbor. You have Harbor Walk going on right now. So yes, there is options we're trying to look at how to make Grand Harbor more pedestrian friendly.
Some safe crossings.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
So
difficult because of the wide width of the road.
Yes. So El Rey
Speeds and such.
El Rey says the only option is to open up the 3rd lane into Linford Pearson Highway.
Yes.
John says, when is the road from CIS to the airport going to be completed?
Okay.
Okay, we're aiming to get a significant portion of that completed by the end of this year. Those works have actually resumed very recently. We had a bit of a break over the Christmas while our existing, I think, project management contract ended, and we had to resolve some stuff. and now we've started receiving material on site to continue the construction of that. But we're aiming for the end of this year. And that, just to clarify, that will help ease the congestion on Butterfield roundabout and help pull some of the larger vehicles and trucks that use Butterfield roundabout. It'd be kind of divided between those two roundabouts is what we're hoping.
Right. And we have Kenroy. Hello, morning, Kenroy. Says, if the roundabout is there, we will not solve the problem. Widening is good, but keeping the roundabout is our problem. So this concept that roundabouts are not efficient, don't work. How do you respond to that?
Well, there's various ways to know people don't seem to the roundabouts, but don't seem to like the roundabouts. But I'm just going to state before I actually talk about what's nice about roundabouts, specifically living in the hurricane stretch, is that roundabouts are always there. When we have a hurricane go through, they're still working. The traffic lights go down, cost millions of dollars to fix.
Even if the signs go down on the roundabout, people still understand how to use them.
More or less.
More or less. Yeah.
How to use them. But when the traffic patterns change on the roundabouts, there are actually ways to kind of fix the problem. You can meter a roundabout, you can signalize the roundabout. If the legs get off balance, there's various ways we can fix that.
The biggest problem that roundabouts have is that if you have one leg that has more traffic than the rest, then it tends to cause a bit of gridlock and issues with imbalance in the legs. And that's sort of the issue we have there at Grand Harbor. So some of our short-term solutions include more metering at that location, particularly like in the mornings and evening to help with traffic flow there.
Okay. El Rey says more roads and lanes is part of traffic, but we need to consider staggering school hours with later start and end times, and maybe we have to implement school bus systems for all schools. No more parent private drop-offs.
Yes, that would be great if the private schools had a bus system. That's the only problem with private schools is that they don't have a central they're in one location and their kids are all over the place. That's the only problem with private schools. The main problem with private schools. They could probably, if they work together, be viable. Might be viable if they had central locations to pick up the kids to take them to the school.
They also tend to be a lot smaller.
Yes,
which means that you'd be looking at a significant expense, which is going to undoubtedly be passed on to parents. And I can tell you that parents who go to private school already pay for everything. They pay tuition and every single thing, extracurricular activities, school uniforms, this, that, and the next thing. So, Al Ray, I know you don't have any babies left, but trust me, the funds get stretched considerably when you have children in private school. Jim says that could use an overhead pedestrian bridge at the Hurley's roundabout. Is that still on the potential list of solutions for that area?
Yes.
Yes, it could be a possibility. Yes. It's just that where do we put the
physical location remains to be a challenge, but yes, that is definitely one of the options there.
Right. Question from DeFranco: are they going to expand South Sound Road, North Church Street, and South Church Street into 4-lane roads? So any plans?
That would be very difficult. That would be very difficult. That would require a lot of land acquisition because the roads are they're built up. People built up right up next to the road.
Yeah, and those actually happen to be the more expensive property areas as well. So it'd be a huge acquisition.
Yeah. And those are the people who can afford to sue you for taking a little piece of their land too.
Yes, are they lawyers themselves, so they have spare time.
Exactly. They got the money and the expertise. Sue says, please finish what you started to do in Savannah for our children's safety, not just leave 10 red. What are ballards? What is that?
Bollards.
Bollards.
Yeah, Sue would be happy to know that we have some plans to improve that safety in the area. We got funding to build some additional parking for the school, which will help to stop some of the issues in the morning with bottlenecks getting into and out of the school. So that'll also fix access to the post office, which will allow us to close that.
And to be fair, too, I see a lot of parents, even in public schools, dropping kids off as well and picking kids up.
Yes.
So I don't think that that's a uniquely
very small
private
percentage
school.
that actually use the bus.
Yeah, I wonder if we could get some statistics. Can you, Miss Marian, maybe ask?
I can.
Yeah, ask what percentage of school kids use the bus system, because I'm curious to know that. El Rey says the roundabouts actually work better and more efficient at moving traffic than intersections and four-way stops. APOC 447 agrees, says roundabouts are scientifically proven to flow more traffic than a traditional intersection with traffic lights.
Right, because you don't have to stop. You can just flow.
They're also safer. I mean,
Really?
there might be more accidents, but they're safer.
Oh, wow.
There's no
there's no head-ons, there's no T-bones. It's all side swipes, right? So you're not gonna have people getting seriously hurt in a roundabout accident.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas almost every one of our signals have killed, one person at least. I think.
Yeah, they've all had a major accident.
They've all had major accidents,
exit turn.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So APOC 447 says the main drawback is the amount of space a roundabout takes up, especially as the speed increases for traffic flowing through.
I agree. You should ask him if he needs a job here.
Yes, El Rey agrees about South Sound, land being more expensive and have lots of lawyers to push back. So Aliano says, I fail to see the issue if they're part of the upper echelon of our society making the money these private schools are making, bank off tuition, they can manage a bus system for the schools. Aliano, you'd be surprised to know how many Caymanian children are not, their parents are not in the upper echelon at all. They're working class Caymanians and who make a sacrifice to be able to send their children to a private school. And it is a struggle. And I'm telling you, I speak to those parents all the time. So don't assume that, that's who this is going to be impacting, some rich lawyer whose kids go to private school. That's going to impact the Caymanian middle-class families who have kids at prep, Catholic, wherever. All right, folks, we're just going to be winding up here in just a little bit. NRA has been in the house with us for a good portion of this morning's show. 936-2626 if you have any burning questions or comments for the National Roads Authority. We've covered quite a bit of ground here this morning. Let me just see if there's anything else coming in on the Alejandro, we're gonna have to put you in a restriction, 2 calls a day. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't want to argue about no bridge, because that's not really my idea. But I would think what is about that the carpooling is that what is the possibilities of carpooling, because I don't.
Well, you can do that now. There's nothing stopping you.
No, but see here, Sandy, if we do that now, we want to have 2 lanes in West Bay, okay? So
you want a carpool lane?
One direct. This is what I'm saying. So then the people that want to be in traffic can stay in 2 lanes by themselves, listening to the radio, whatever talk show they listen to, or songs they listen to. While me and my brethren can be in the back of the car, and someone driving, and we can just be chilling out while we just take.
But where are we going to get the space for carpooling? We barely got the space.
We find in a lot of places to open up 3rd lanes. I mean, I don't know why the hell we can't put it for a bike lane and make it for carpoolers.
All right, well, let's ask the question. All right, NRA
use this.
Okay, all right. So we got Alejandro's willing to carpool. He's saying, can we get some carpooling?
Great.
I mean, we'd love carpool lanes if we could. The space is always the issue, and like Alejandro rightfully said, I mean, a lot of our roads maybe there's only 2 lanes. So if you designate one of those a carpool lane, then you only have 1 lane as an option for those who are by themselves.
How many people? We need a sense of how many people are going to carpool. Ronaldo says, "I ain't carpooling." Straight up, Lord have mercy. Caller, good morning, welcome. Good morning, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Miss Sandra, and good morning to your guests.
Yes, ma'am.
Are they from NRA?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So anyway, this is what I wanted to say about the bridge. I lived in, or we, Peter and myself, lived in one of the ABC islands, Curacao. And they had a shell refinery. I think it could still be there, but it's two towns in Curacao. The capital, Wilmestad, and then the old town. There was a pontoon. The old town is named Otrobanda. And the pontoon, it's a pontoon bridge between the old town and the new town. And then they were building a huge bridge, much higher. Now, this pontoon bridge, as I say, pontoon, was floating, and the big oil tankers, mostly national bird carriers. I don't know if you're probably too young to know about national bird carriers, but they used, when they were coming in, it was a pilot building on that bridge that the horn would blow and the bridge would swing open from the new town to the old town, depends on where the ship was coming from, or vice versa. And then they locked it. But of course, then the cars couldn't get to the old town or the new town. Now, when they locked it, it was like a huge gate. I got stuck on the bridge while it was locking, because I was in the middle of it, and they tell you to stay there. Now, I don't know if anything like that could be built between West Bay.
So let me just
Georgetown.
clarify. Are you talking about this Queen Juliana Bridge in Wilmestad, Curacao?
Yes. That's yes. But it's like I said, it's been there forever.
But it's a very short bridge. I must say, it's no significant length.
Yeah, it's very short because of the two towns, but it's big enough for these huge oil tankers to go through.
I don't think that's the suggestion with the bridge that's being floated around. It's not really about we obviously don't have any oil tankers to worry about, but it's more of the length of the bridge to connect it in any meaningful way you're looking at. So this is the little bridge that she's referring to here. That looks, I don't know.
Yeah.
It says here that this is, it was opened in 1974. And this Queen Juliana Bridge, which again is Wilmestad, which is the capital of the Southern Caribbean island of Curacao. It's a 4-lane bridge that spans across St. Anna Bay, replaced a previous structure that collapsed in 1967. And the bridge was named Queen Juliana after Queen Juliana of the Netherlands. But
yes. And a matter of fact, I think
it's
now
only
they
500 meters in length. Just to the NRA folks, North Sound Bridge would be what length are we talking about here?
Okay, good. I didn't get that part of it, but
yes,
I think a floating bridge would work, because right now I took Patrick back there when he was a little boy, because that's where he was born. And I gotta watch that too before they ask him to show more papers that his mother's a Caymanian and his family's Caymanians and whatnot, and he is a Caymanian, but he
about 10 minutes, Sandra.
But I'm wondering though if something like that could be built, because when that was locked, that was locked. All cars had to stop. If a car was on, or vehicle, I should say, not necessarily had to be a car, was on that bridge, it had to stay there until it swung. It was just beautiful to watch the way that they did it, the way that they operated it, and things like that. But if something like that could be built between a north zone and wherever else, it could help the traffic. Mind you, Curacao doesn't get as much bad weather as we, because we're like Bermuda, sitting out there all by itself with ocean surrounding it. So I don't know if...
Let's ask the question. Thank you so much, caller. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, my dear.
You're welcome,
Have a beautiful day.
Yes,
So,
and you too. Thank you.
Okay, dear. So the question then is, are there any benefits to a suspension bridge? Is that something that could work as opposed to a traditional bridge? You mentioned the size. So this is a height of 185 feet, 56.4 meters, weighs 3,400 tons. And again, it spans 500, what did I just say? 500 meters.
Yeah, I mean that's a relatively short bridge, Sandra, and it's there's no downside to the suspension other than the costs go up. The higher you elevate it.
Quite some time to build this, because apparently while under construction, the eastern part of the bridge collapsed in 1967, killing 15 workers. So it's, again, when you talk about the engineering feats, not to say that these things are impossible, but when you're looking at, I don't know what that water, that bay is there, but it doesn't quite look like the North Sound.
Yeah. I mean, to do any kind of bridge over the North Sound, you're talking probably seven or more miles of bridge. Looking at the map. And a meaningful bridge, Yeah.
Wow. All right, folks. I know the bridge idea sounds like a good idea, but the logistics of it just doesn't seem to make it viable. So let's work on the things that we can fix. I think that's the important thing. Making small changes, some medium-sized changes, and bigger changes. Folks, the NRA is out there working hard. I know that they actually, the Newlands bypass, you've got some workers. Tell us what's going on with the Newlands bypass. And what I want to say is you guys need to slow down. When you see NRA and utility workers and other men out there working, please slow down and take your time, because you're jeopardizing people's lives with your bad driving.
Yeah, you're talking about the Newlands bypass right now on the east-west, like Rex Crichton. That's a section called Rex Crichton Boulevard. Right, I have that correct. We are widening that out at the moment.
And adding one lane.
Adding one lane on each side.
In each direction. Yep.
And then we're gonna put some street lighting, drainage in that particular stretch between Poindexter and Hearst Road. So that is being done at the moment. We're hoping to finish by July timeframe. So that's a project that's ongoing at the moment. For the other thing you talked about, our work zones, we have been having some issues with people's not respecting the work zones themselves, putting our workers at risk on the roads, driving too fast through the work zones, not shifting lanes over, not taking care of the signs that we place up, and just ignoring them completely. This just makes it very unsafe for our workers on the roads, and they're putting their lives at risk they're working on a road that people are using. So please just take due care when you pass by them. They would like to go home at night as well, but they have a job to do, but they don't need to be put at risk to do that job.
Yeah, I mean, we understand everyone's frustration with traffic. I mean, we all drive to and from work as well. We understand everyone's frustration, certainly. But try not to speed around an active work zone.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. So again, folks, the NRA, joined us this morning. We hope to have them in at least once a month so that, they can touch bases with you all, tell you what is going on, what projects they're working on, how things are progressing. It's good to have them in studio. Not everybody can hold up to the pressure of coming on the Cold Hard Truth. So can we please get an applause for the NRA? Job well done today. We really, really appreciate it. Yes, we absolutely appreciate Miss Marion. She's always in the hot seat. She's like, oh man, I got to go again. But Edison Jackson.
She's a brave one. She's definitely a brave one.
Absolutely. Edison joined her this time. So again, we appreciate them coming on the program, educating people, talking about some of your concerns. Marion's always taking notes. You always see her with a notepad and a pen, and she's writing stuff down. Yeah. She's going to follow up.
We're going to look into some of the things that we mentioned on the show here today.
Yes, absolutely. Very good. All right. Well, thank you to both Marion and Edison. We really appreciate you guys coming on the program today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Have a fantastic day. And folks, thank all of you very, very much for joining the program. Lots of ideas floating around. Jim says, where do people believe that the money will come from to even build a bridge? I mean, Aliano keeps saying that the king is going to pay for it. What king? No, you and your children and their children and children's children and children's children will be paying for a $1 billion bridge for generations to come. And a $1 billion bridge is probably not going to solve anything. Gabby's saying, what about a ferry? Then we don't need to build a bridge. Well, here's the thing, Gabby. We have a ferry. Didn't somebody start up a ferry system going from, where was it, Newlands to Camana Bay or somewhere about? And not even enough people are utilizing that. I think y'all have got to be more realistic in terms of these ideas sound great, but how many of you are going to load up your kids in a ferry and go from Newlands to Camana Bay to take them to school or to whatever? And when you get across there, how are you going to get around? I mean, the fact that these businesses are having to close down and shut down because it's just not working. El Rey says, how about a car ferry? Oh my goodness, it's crazy. It's good to explore some of these ideas. Moy says that Uncle Dart will help. Oh Lord, y'all love y'all Uncle Dart and be cussing the poor people, but he's going to solve your problems. Anywho, beautiful people, thank you so much for tuning in to the program today. We just have to keep talking about these issues, trying to come up with what's going to work. Sometimes just talking it through and having other people join in and you hear their opinions and where they're coming from, we flush it out a little bit and we get to like where, this might be a decent idea. Let's see if this is something that can work. We will get there, good folks. We're all on it, obviously, and I'm glad that you guys are engaged in the conversation. So listen, I've got a huge list of people requesting radios. I need to go through the list. I will do it in the order of how requests came in. I can tell you that already the list has exceeded, I'm sure, what I currently have in inventory. I will order more. I got to check my little budget because, even Sandy lives on a budget, y'all. So I got to check my little budget of when I can order some more. And here's Customs going, how many radios she says she can bring in? Pump the brakes over there, CBC. We're going to order some more, and I will definitely try to get everybody a radio that wants a radio. Isn't that fantastic that all of you guys want a radio? I think I might go and beg Uncle, not Uncle Dart, but I'm going to beg Uncle Don Seymour to help me get some radios because, Don Seymour, he got some money. So I can talk to him about sponsoring some radios. So let me work on that because, like I said, my budget is limited. But let me see what I can do. Donique wants one. Honey Chow. Let me add you to the list now. Yes, Donique. Donique, send me a WhatsApp message letting me know that that's you. There aren't any green ones, by the way. So it's like a black or dark gray. All right, good folks. Y'all have a fantastic day. Hump Day Wednesday. Easter weekend is coming up. Tomorrow is going to be the last show of the week because, of course, Friday is Good Friday. So we're going to have a fantastic time talk about some Easter stuff tomorrow. And we do have some other guests. Hold on. Let me check my calendar. Tomorrow we have, nobody's coming on tomorrow. Ooh, honey child, we have a free day. All right, that's it. That's me. You guys have a fantastic one. Be safe.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Here's a summary of some of Cayman's latest headlines. Police are trying to locate the driver of an abandoned vehicle that was seen with significant damage on Seaview Road in East End on Sunday. The vehicle, a 1998 silver BMW 520i sedan, was on a blind bend and was partially obstructing the eastbound lane. A bus driver was robbed on Monday in the vicinity of Party Lane by 3 male passengers he picked up earlier in Bodden Town. It was reported that the men showed a knife to the bus driver and robbed him of a quantity of cash. As employers continue to commit immigration breaches, especially by employing persons without work permits, Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman or WORK indicated that it collected over $320,000 in fines last year. Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:16. Be ready for some isolated thunderstorms today when the temperature's at 84 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity at 72% like the forecast calls for. It will feel like it's in the high 80s. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour and the sun sets at 6:40. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the mid-70s. Looking forward, similar weather conditions are expected. However, by this weekend, the sunny skies will be back in the forecast. If you would like to know more on any of these stories, visit CaymanMallRoad.com or follow Cayman Mall Road on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.